Let's jump into a wild story. I might look 8 years old, but I'm actually not. I used to be a regular college student. Then, boom, I woke up in the Llewellyn continent. No runaway truck, no crazy, tragic ending. I fell asleep after gaming with friends and opened my eyes here. 2 months ago, a heavy fever knocked me out for 3 whole days. That is exactly when my old past life memories fully return. I spent days begging for a magical system like the ones in those light novels I always read. But guess what? Nothing ever popped up. My parents totally thought that fever broke my brain. Seriously, this world has everything you would want from a classic fantasy setting. Swords, magic, dragons, elves, beastmen. I was actually super hyped for cute elf and beast girls, but I have not seen one yet. Right now, my life is just standing outside every single day, swinging a heavy sword until my arms literally ache. My strict dad, Val Ray, is the absolute taskmaster training me. He started as a commoner and a wandering adventurer. He uncovered an epic master-level skill called the Thunderlight Sword deep inside ancient ruins. Later on, he fought battles alongside a baron named Skull. He literally saved the guy and got promoted to knight. He even named our family Ray after his signature sword style. Now, he drills soldiers all morning and whips me right into shape every single afternoon. Warriors power up by matching sword attacks with a special breathing rhythm. It pulls raw magic straight from the air right into something they call a battle mark. A magical pattern carved into you. That mark stores magic power and boosts your strength. My dad carved the most basic one right on my chest. 2 weeks of brutal training later, I still feel absolutely zero magic. He says it is normal, taking him 3 months, and people called him a genius for that. What I really want is to be a mage. Mages just meditate to boost mental power. Then they control the elements and weave magic patterns to launch awesome spells. That sounds way better than my daily torture. Pay attention here. Even a low-tier mage becomes instant nobility, respected by every human kingdom. That matters a lot to me because my dad's fancy knight title cannot be inherited. If I do not earn my own title, I lose the family name when he passes. Commoners in this country are simply not allowed to have last names. So I swing that heavy sword daily, body completely aching. Just dreaming of the glorious day I can drop it forever and grab a magic staff instead. Becoming a mage is basically a rich person game. An awakening potion can slowly boost a kid's spiritual power, but you can only drink 1 single bottle every year, starting exactly at age 8. If your spiritual C is not awake by 14, game over. You will never become a mage. Plus, every bottle costs a massive 500 gold coins. In our area, a normal family of 4 easily survives on 2 gold coins annually. My dad only earns around 30 gold working as a knight. When I learned all this, my awesome mage dream was basically totally crushed. You and I know the truth, right? Natural awakening only happens with insane innate power, and I am definitely not betting on that. So, even though I complain about this sword training daily, I have not given up yet. It is truly my only path forward. After dinner, my mom told me to train hard. If I hit master level warrior, I can finally get knighted and become a true noble. She actually comes from a noble family, the youngest daughter of Baron Ethan. He and my dad became super close during the war, which is exactly how my parents met. Then my dad dropped some news. The Viscount hired a special tutor for his kids, and I would be joining their daily lessons too. He really wanted me to build a strong, friendly relationship with them right away. The very next morning, we headed to a fancy room inside the Viscount's mansion. 2 kids my exact age were waiting, a boy and a girl. The boy was Luca Garcia, the Viscount's eldest son. The adorable girl was his daughter, Odora Garcia. They are twins. Luca was a bit shorter than me, looking confident and sharp in fancy blue clothes with cool white patterns and gold trim. Odora wore a matching dress with a giant bell, with wavy light gold hair, bright eyes, and glowing skin in the morning light. She seriously looked like a gorgeous princess straight out of a fairy tale. Their smart tutor, a guy named Chris Martin, walked right in and immediately started teaching just basic numbers and letters. With my whole past life of education, this stuff was an absolute breeze. Odora paid super close attention. Luca was the guy squirming around the entire time. The exact moment class finally ended, Luca rushed over, super excited to discuss my dad. He heard my dad was the absolute strongest warrior around, defeating 2 enemies of the same level while totally surrounded in a fierce battle. Odora joined in, saying her dad admitted he would not have survived without mine. They both hyped up his Thunderlight sword technique as if it was some legendary, ultimate skill. I stayed perfectly polite about it all. I explained my dad said it was only possible because those enemies targeted the Viscount, and the Viscount himself actually helped out. Honestly, my dad brags about that epic fight constantly at home, but I figured playing it humble was definitely the smarter move around these noble kids. Trust me, I had no idea how awesome Master level actually is. Let's jump in. You and I are looking at only 2 Master Warriors here, I dad, and the Viscount. Even the capital respects that rank. Honestly, Luca just wanted to skip our brutal afternoon training and sneak off to the market with me. Apparently, a massive group of adventurers rolled into town hunting a legendary white moon magic bear, a level 5 magical beast. They even brought mages along for the ride. But Odora quickly stepped in. She warned him their strict dad would check his training progress, and skipping meant massive trouble. Luca deflated on the spot, slumping onto the desk, completely broken. I totally felt his pain. Sword practice was waiting for me too. Luca just groaned loudly, complaining his father was unfair. He whined about not getting an awakening potion, desperate to become a mage. Well, at least I was not suffering alone here. Odora gently explained that the Viscount simply could not afford 2 expensive awakening potions. Every single year, just one was hard enough. Since Luca gets the noble title anyway, their dad poured all his gold into giving Odora a real shot at learning magic. This way, in as a girl without inheritance rights, becoming a mage would guarantee her honorary noble status. I was a bit jealous, but honestly, Odora did not look thrilled at all. She muttered about hoping to awaken someday, but her voice felt completely empty and heavy. For someone our age, she was just way too mature. Later, on the carriage ride home, my dad casually asked how our hangout went. I admitted they were totally different from the spoiled, noble brats I pictured. Zero arrogance, completely chill, super easy to talk to. My dad smiled warmly. He clearly trusted the Viscount a ton. And seriously, any guy willing to drop thousands of gold coins on his daughter's tiny chance at a future is awesome. Then my afternoon torture began, swinging that heavy sword endlessly until I collapsed face first into the dirt. Staring at the sunset, I bet Luca was sprawled out somewhere too, completely exhausted, just like me. That became my brutal daily routine, hitting the books all morning, endless training all afternoon. Months flew by, 6 whole months since arriving in this fantasy world. Now, you need to pay close attention, because this is where everything shifts. Mid-swing under a snowy tree, intense warmth hit my chest. Energy pulled tight toward my battle mark. My eyes watered up from sheer joy. I finally sensed real magic. My exhausted muscles practically buzzed with fresh energy. Dad shouted at me to keep going, and me to focus on that feeling. I could tell he was in an amazing mood. He realized that sensing magic at my young age in only 5 months meant my talent was incredible, almost matching his own level. I pushed through a complete set of sword strikes. The magic rushed through my battle mark, flowing outward to reinforce every single muscle in my body, piece by piece. But the second I stopped moving, that energy vanished. The heavy exhaustion crashed down on me instantly. That small spark of magic felt just like a single drop of water inside a massive bowl. My dad told me to push the magic straight into my arm. The second I did, explosive power surged through it. I swung the blade and felt an insane difference immediately. Way faster, way stronger. I asked why attacking absorbed magic faster than simply breathing. He laughed, saying it was super obvious. Swinging a sword forces your whole body to forcefully pull energy in. Standing still and taking deep breaths means only your lungs are working. That actually made perfect sense. I know what you are thinking. Getting stronger by just sitting and meditating? In this world, that is pure fiction. Doing absolutely nothing just makes you soft. With a proud smile, my dad officially declared me a beginner warrior. To hit the mid-tier, I had to pack my battle mark completely full. I needed to toughen my entire body until it naturally stopped drinking in magic. Then he would unlock my second ring, letting me advance. Time flew by fast. Luca finally hit beginner warrior status exactly 2 weeks after my breakthrough. After that epic milestone, we sparred all the time. We memorized each other's fighting styles so well that every single match ended in a solid tie. He blocked my sneaky attacks, and I saw right through his. Later, Odora brought us some training snacks. I gently asked about her newest awakening potion, but she just sighed. Absolutely nothing happened. 4 expensive bottles wasted. She was 12 now, with 0 signs of magical awakening. With just 2 years left, her confidence was completely shattered. Whenever we talked about it, I tried hyping her up, telling her not to panic and to just keep believing in her hidden potential. But honestly, even I felt those words were pretty empty. Magic here is bizarre. If you cannot feel the energy, it basically does not exist at all. You cannot grab it from the air or even prove it is there. Yet, the exact moment you finally sense it, that power becomes undeniably real. When I push myself in training, my body acts like a magnet. The split second that magic enters my system, I can command it and unleash raw power. I asked Odora how mages actually train. She explained that a spiritual vortex opens up between your brows, passively absorbing energy. Meditating boosts your mental strength, but sadly, she really did not know much else. Elemental powers are way more straightforward than raw magic. We are talking water, fire, wind, ice, rock, wood, life, light, and dark. So what do you and I take from this? Those glowing magic beast cores? They are literally pure, visible elemental crystals ready to be used. Let's dive in. Top mages here can control minds, time, space, and even souls. Luca asked when I would finally rank up to mid-level warrior. I smirked, telling him soon, so we better keep up. He stubbornly insisted. It could go either way. Later at home, I found my mom completely exhausted on the sofa after shopping all day with the Viscountess. Our loyal maid Celeste, who had been with mom since before marriage, went to cook dinner. So, I offered her a leg massage. Fun fact, back in my past life, I was actually studying traditional Chinese medicine at college. Specifically, acupuncture and massage. I trained for 2 whole years before ending up in this world. Pressure points were my absolute specialty. I worked on her Shua, Zani, Sanjio, and Yonuan points. She gasped, saying, it felt way better than Celeste's massages. Then she asked what the Yonuan point meant. I casually explained it was a foot pressure point. She looked confused, asking what a pressure point even was. She had never heard of it. Instant panic. This fantasy world knew absolutely nothing about acupuncture. I quickly lied, claiming a tutor at the Viscount's mansion taught me. She gave me a super skeptical look, since her childhood tutor never mentioned it. Thank goodness Celeste called us down to dinner, saving me. Later in bed, I thought about the slip-up more carefully. Honestly, it made sense. They hadn't discovered pressure points yet. Even back on Earth, mainly Eastern medicine actually recognized them. Now, pay close attention, this is where it gets crazy. Even plenty of Earth doctors doubted they existed. You cannot see them. 0 instruments can detect them. And if you cut the skin there, it looks exactly the same as everywhere else. Exactly like magic in this world. Invisible, yet completely real. Then bam, something hit me. I sat bolt upright, suddenly wide awake. In all those epic cultivation novels from my past life, experts stored energy inside their danshin. 3 specific points on the body. The upper danshin rests between the eyebrows. The middle is right at the chest, and the lower sits just below the navel. Martial artists always talked about sinking ki into the lower danshin known as the ki si. I pressed my CO point and felt distinct soreness. Pressed zoni, same exact thing. Pressed a totally random spot, absolutely nothing. So, human bodies in this magical world had the exact same acupuncture points as my old one. Back on Earth, real ki, or spiritual energy, was pure fiction. But internal martial arts like Tai Chi, those were entirely real. My great-grandfather practiced it and stayed incredibly healthy and sharp at over 90 years old. It couldn't make you fly or split mountains, but it genuinely kept people healthy. Earth had 0 ki, but this world has magic. What if I stored magic right in my danshin, channeling it through my meridians exactly the way those epic novels described? Sleep was absolutely impossible now. I sat upright in bed, heart pounding with pure excitement. I know what you're thinking, wild, right? If magic acts like spiritual energy, could I achieve immortal cultivation, golden core? or eternal life. The absolute second I got the idea about storing magic in my danchin, tried it immediately. I controlled my magic, pushing it forcefully toward the Guan Yuan point, the lower danchin, but literally nothing happened. No matter how hard I tried, the magic just couldn't locate the acupuncture point. Like a hidden door perfectly disguised as a solid wall, I felt the deep soreness pressing the spot with my finger, but magic just passed right through, acting like nothing special was there at all. I flopped back onto the bed, completely disappointed. Maybe those fantasy novels really were just lies. But then a sudden knock at the door. It was Celeste. Mom sent her to learn my massage techniques and the pressure points I mentioned. While teaching her, a massive realization clicked in my head. I couldn't get into the danchin from the outside. So, what if I literally opened the door from the inside? For that, I needed internal energy already inside my danchin, and for that, I had to practice internal martial arts. Luckily, I spent 2 years learning Tai Chi from my great-grandfather back in middle school. The second Celeste finally left, I sprinted straight to the backyard. I started running through the Tai Chi forms, going slowly at first, pulling movements from memory, backed by my past life's foundation. 4 years of sword training, and a magically strengthened body. It came back way smoother than expected. I practiced deep into the night. Next day, I was absolutely dying to get home after class. Dad wasn't watching my afternoon training anymore, which was just perfect. Explaining Tai Chi was absolutely impossible. I switched to abdominal breathing, the famous Danshin breathing method, and practiced Tai Chi all afternoon. By evening, I finally felt something. A tiny trickle of magic entered my body, followed my breath, and slowly gathered. Not in my danchin, though inside my battle mark. I stood frozen. And I just witnessed a game changer here. I tried again carefully, and noticed a subtle difference. During sword practice, magic actively rushes straight toward the battle mark. Stick with me, we are watching something insane. During Tai Chi, his battle mark sucked up magic like a massive vortex. The mark had intense gravity, constantly draining magical energy even without active training. That was the huge problem our main character faced. Even if our hero guided magic toward his danchin, the mark would just completely intercept it. He had to shut it down first. At dinner, he casually asked his father how to stop an active battle mark. His dad just gave him a super confused look. He played it off as curiosity. His dad said normally, you absolutely cannot. Once activated, it runs forever unless completely destroyed. But there was one epic exception. Breaking into the legendary rank. Legendary marks operate on a totally different level. They directly connect your physical body with the wild elements of heaven and earth. Internal elements resonate with external ones, working like a lever, massively amplifying raw power. That is exactly why legendary warriors completely outclass standard masters every single time. The craziest detail? When carving a legendary mark, there cannot be a single trace of magic left inside the old one. Any remaining magic could accidentally trigger elemental resonance and totally ruin the entire process. So our hero asked again, how do you actually stop it? His dad said it was super simple. Empty all magic from the mark. Now watch closely. Keep just a tiny trace of energy to block the mark from the body, stopping absorption. Then, you simply wait. Without magical energy flowing through it, the mark totally shuts down. After carving the new one, you just train for a bit to reactivate it. Not months like the first time, just a few rounds of practice. Super simple. That was exactly all he needed to hear. He finally had a solid plan. That very night, he successfully shut down his mark. After ensuring his father was fast asleep, he snuck into the backyard and started practicing Tai Chi. At first, absolutely nothing happened. No magical flow at all. He figured the battle mark previously helped him sense magic. Without it active, his sensitivity tanked. But he didn't quit, pushing round after round through the entire night. Just as the morning sky started to brighten, he finally felt it. Tiny wisps of magic following his breath, slowly gathering right inside his danchin. He actually cried, real tears streaming down his face. Those fantasy novels were not lying. The danchin really could store energy just like magic. He quickly snuck back into his room before anyone woke up. Even after staying up all night, he was too excited to feel tired. During morning practice with his father, he kept the magic blocking his battle mark. just casually going through the motions to keep up appearances perfectly. After class, he rushed home so incredibly fast. He didn't even say goodbye to Luca. Odora joked he was probably racing to hit mid-level so he could bully her brother. That definitely lit a massive fire under Luca. He kept this routine up for a whole month, training Taikai secretly every single night. I know what you're thinking. Crazy, right? He learned Danshin energy works totally differently from battle mark magic. The battle mark system uses magic to strengthen the body and boost physical attacks. Normal magic is just fuel, but Danshin energy flows through the meridians, applying directly to both attack and defense. He couldn't shoot it at range yet, but he could send it through contact to absolutely damage things. Small things, anyway. He could easily crack a solid pebble. The Danshin gathered magic much more slowly than the battle mark, so his energy reserves were tiny. Today, he planned to go home and finally reactivate his battle mark. But Luca grabbed him after class and absolutely refused to let go. They hadn't sparred in a full month, and he was totally fed up with the excuses. Odora even arranged for the kitchen to cook his favorite food. He couldn't say no. After lunch, they faced off in the Viscount training room with wooden swords. The massive problem was totally obvious right away. His battle mark was totally empty. He had no magic reinforcing his body. Luca came at him hard, and he could barely hold his ground. Luca noticed immediately and started aggressively taunting him about getting weaker. A few exchanges later, he knocked the wooden sword clean out with a powerful swing. He stumbled backward, wide open. Luca violently charged in with the thrust aimed right at him. He barely twisted aside, then his body moved purely on instinct. Deep breath. Sinking Kai to the Danshin, dropping into a firm horse stance. His left hand shot out, catching his sword wrist. He smoothly stepped back, using Luca's own heavy forward momentum entirely against him. Luca's feet left the floor. He grabbed the collar with his right hand and powerfully threw him completely over his shoulder. He slammed into the floor with a massive crash. Odora burst out laughing, totally roasting him for almost winning, only to get instantly flipped at the last second. He was absolutely stunned, too. He just used Taikai in a real fight without even thinking about it, redirecting pure force, using fluid softness against raw strength, turning the opponent's absolute power back on them. With zero magic, Taikai was the absolutely perfect combat style for him right now. He didn't even pick up his sword. He dropped directly into a solid stance, hands open, grinning. Come on, let me show you the martial art I have been practicing. Luca stared at him like he was absolutely crazy. You're serious? No sword. Dead serious. Let's go. Luca fiercely charged at him again. He stayed totally calm, dodging smoothly. He caught the wrist, redirected the heavy force with the spiral, and slammed him down. You and I just witnessed absolute perfection. Stick with me, guys, because in this crazy world, combat is purely about raw power, massive swings, and sheer brute force. Nobody here has ever witnessed a style using softness to conquer hardness. Striking a classic Taikai stance, I called out the name. Odora cheered, clapping excitedly, but instantly, shifted into a totally serious mode. He charged at maximum power, and immediately, everything felt completely wrong. Way too fast, overwhelmingly strong. I couldn't redirect anything. Bam. Floor time. He broke through to mid-level. That explains why he insisted on sparring today. He wanted to completely surprise me. A mid-level warrior actually wields nearly double the attack power of a peak beginner. Taikai handles power gaps, but definitely not one that massive. Calling it quits, I headed home to train, while Odora warned Luca not to get overly cocky about winning. She claimed hitting mid-level 2 would make my Taikai almost unbeatable. Back home, quickly started reactivating my battle mark using the legendary Thunderlight Sword technique. Halfway through, suddenly realized I was using abdominal breathing, the Dantian method, instead of the standard breathing technique. I boldly decided to go with it. As magic poured in, the battle mark absorbed most of it, but a tiny fraction trickled straight into my Dantian. Honestly, I didn't mind. Within days, my battle mark was completely maxed out, stockpiling all that magic instead of wasting it on body strengthening. Then arrived the night I had been waiting for. Sitting cross-legged on my bed, I began the intense attempt to finally link my battle mark and Dantian. I pushed battle mark magic toward the Dantian from the outside, simultaneously sliding Dantian magic along the inner walls, hunting for a connection. Think of the Dantian like a pond. Magic is the water, and meridians are pipes. Now pay attention here. I searched the walls, the bottom twice. Nothing. But up top, boom. One spot felt completely different from all the rest. I shoved all my internal Dantian magic directly against that exact spot. Outside, battle mark energy pressed inward at that identical point. I felt nervous. What if I permanently damaged myself? But zero pain. I figured the absolute worst case was returning to basic battle mark training. Suddenly, I felt a distinct pop. The gateway finally opened wide. The two wild streams of magic violently crashed together and began merging. Right then, I immediately noticed something incredibly strange. The magic flowing from my Dantian simply was not normal magic. It contained a subtle extra element I had never actually noticed before. Simply because I lacked pure magic for comparison, I instantly separated both sides, carefully examining the newly merged magic floating right in the middle. Testing it, I tried strengthening my own body. The insane results absolutely shocked me. If standard magic gave a strengthening effect of 1, this merged magic hit 1.5. Pure Dantian magic, packing more mystery substance, only scored 1.2. Having too much actually tanked the efficiency. After extensive testing, I discovered the ultimate ratio. 25% unknown substance mixed with 75% pure magic gave exactly double the effect of magic alone. It worked exactly like a catalyst. It didn't replace magic, but amplified what normal magic achieved. Once mixed together, it could not be separated again, only diluted further with pure magic. Honestly, a huge excitement faded extremely fast. The Dantian stored so little magic compared to the battle mark. Once I mixed them, the precious catalyst would dilute down to practically absolute zero. You and I both know I had to find this catalyst's origin, so I tested it. I shifted pure battle mark magic into the Dantian, then practiced Tai Chi. Sure enough, the catalyst magically appeared in it afterward. So, this awesome catalyst was what internal martial artists back home called inner force, or ki. It is the raw energy a body generates during internal martial arts training. That explains why elderly Tai Chi masters on Earth stayed insanely healthy into their 90s, easily outpunching huge bodybuilders double their size. I crunched the numbers. 1 hour of Tai Chi produced roughly 10 units of catalyzed magic, 5 pure magic, 5 inner force. 1 hour of sword training with abdominal breathing gave 50 total units, but only 0.5 inner force. Regular sword training using normal breathing, 50 magic, 0 inner force. This world's raw energy output from training was a massive 5 times higher than Tai Chi. No wonder these warriors were leagues stronger than anyone on Earth. But inner force possessed one massive, game-winning advantage. It could literally leave the body. Pure magic absolutely could not do that. When mixing 1 part inner force to 3 parts magic, the combined energy could actually be pushed outward through physical contact. The damage relied entirely on the amount of inner force, though adding extra magic did not make the external hits any more powerful. Borrowing from cultivation novels, I named the optimal 1 to 3 mixed spiritual energy. The problem was inner force generated so incredibly slowly. 5 hours of Tai Chi barely matched 1 hour of standard sword practice. Not practical at all right now. Still, this month absolutely wasn't wasted. So what do you and I take from all this? I now had a Dantian for massive extra endurance, plus an epic discovery. Magic and spiritual energy perfectly open. Blocked meridians. Magic could replace inner force for that purpose. Honestly, the higher the energy quality, the better it worked. Stick with me, we are diving into something wild. The spiritual energy was ideal, but I deliberately delayed leveling up. Instead, I spent over 3 months completely filling my battle mark and Dantian with pure spiritual energy. Luca laughed at me daily for just being a beginner. Even my dad thought I was slacking, literally watching my training for days. But then one night, I sat cross-legged on my bed and began. The Ren meridian along my front was completely open. That naturally happened the moment magic first rushed into my Dantian. So I pushed the energy down to my root point, then aggressively forced it up into the Du meridian along my spine. Instantly, hit a massive roadblock. In my previous world, humans are born with those pathways linked, but they seal up after birth, getting way tougher to crack open as you grow. By adulthood, that due meridian completely seals shut. Opening it usually takes decades of brutal training. Since I was only 12, it was somewhat easier, relatively speaking anyway. I shaped my spiritual power like a sharp spear tip, aggressively forcing it forward. The sheer pain was completely beyond anything I had ever felt. Trembling and drenched in sweat, I could barely focus through the total agony. But I gritted my teeth, fiercely pushing until I hit Changqiang, the due meridian's very first major point. I absolutely refused to stop there. I was clearing this instantly. Enduring this intense pain once was plenty. If I had to face this every single night, I would totally lose my mind. Luckily, after the due meridian's initial section, the rest felt slightly less brutal. Pushing past the ache, I opened point after point until finally reaching Bai Hui at my head's absolute peak. Now watch closely. The instant I hit that point, pure magic flooded in from outside, rushing straight through my crown. It diluted my spiritual energy slightly, but gave me enough juice to continue. I pressed downward toward the yintang point between my brows. That is the upper dantian, known as the spiritual sea in this world. The second my energy entered, my head exploded. Not literally, but a bomb basically went off inside my skull. I totally thought it was game over. Here is what actually went down, even though I completely missed it. Then, everyone has a massive lump of dormant spiritual power inside their yintang point. Normally, it acts like an unmovable boulder, completely preventing you from tapping into it. It solidifies completely around age 14, which explains why mages must awaken before then. Awakening potions inject a tiny dose of pure power to gently stimulate that solid mass, forcing it to spread out into easily usable fragments for mages. What I did was 0% gentle. I slammed a concentrated ball of magic, way stronger than any potion, directly into it. That mass didn't just spread, it totally detonated. Raw power scattered everywhere inside my head, and my consciousness started fading fast. Intense dizziness hit me in waves. I was moments from blacking out, and if that power stayed scattered, my brain would be permanently ruined. In full panic mode, I remembered Odara's wise words. A true mage holds a vortex between their eyebrows. So, I gathered every last scrap of magic I had and desperately spun it into a whirlpool right at the yintang. It actually worked. The vortex pulled the scattered power back exactly like a strong magnet. But it didn't stop there. It began sucking massive amounts of external magic straight through Bai Hui, too. That tiny whirlpool transformed into a raging tornado. The spiritual power latched on, spinning intensely, and my mind finally cleared up completely. I had accidentally awakened as a mage, and definitely not the weak potion kind. Let that sink in for a second. My spiritual sea was blown wide open, way bigger than any potion could achieve. Natural mages start with huge advantages, and what I pulled off was even more extreme than natural awakening. With that magic tornado still drilling forward, I blasted right through the remaining meridian points like absolute nothing. The spinning energy acted like a heavy drill, effortlessly carving the path open. I violently punched through the final Yinjiao point, linking it to Chengjiang on the Ren meridian. The pathways fully connected, creating a perfect circuit from my crown to the base. I felt entirely reborn. Just sitting still, magic continuously flowed in a massive loop, straight down from Bai Hui through my spiritual sea into the dantian, and out the root. It rushed up my spine, returned to Bai Hui to grab fresh external magic, and spiraled back down. Every single acupuncture point it passed generated a tiny spark of inner force, automatically mixing right into the flow without me doing anything. This amazing passive cycle produced basically the same magic amount as intense active sword training, and when I actively controlled that vortex, over 10 times faster than normal training. Just sitting there, I finally leaped off the bed, grinning like an absolute idiot. All those epic cultivation novels were completely right. You genuinely can get way stronger just by meditating. I silently thanked every single wuxia and xiangxia author I had ever read, plus anyone who created internal martial arts. Absolute geniuses, all of them. Makes you think, right? I kept wondering why my yintang point exploded, since martial artists on Earth never had that happen. His best guess? It was definitely magic. Pure inner force alone simply could not trigger the sleeping spiritual mass. Stick with me, you and I are about to witness something wild. Focusing his spiritual see unlocked completely new vision. Colorful specks of light suddenly floated everywhere in the air. Pure elements. He could perfectly see inside his own body, every meridian, every pressure point, all muscles and bones. It felt like unlocking an absolute superpower. He remembered a past life legend. The upper Danshan was the spirit palace, granting crazy inner vision, heightened senses, and next level, a credible intelligence. Everything matched. Our MC accidentally became a mage without knowing a single spell. Zero training, no mentor, and absolutely no clue how this crazy magic worked. He decided to keep this completely hidden. With training speed 10 times faster than normal, he could easily master both epic paths at once. He would reveal his awesome mage powers at age 14. With 18 months, he could achieve what takes others 10 or 20 years. Plus, he totally changed his original game plan for the future. Instead of hitting mid-level instantly, he chose opening every remaining meridian first. The 8 extraordinary ones, the 12 standard ones, literally all of them. Every single pressure point the magical energy passed through generated insane inner force. He needed more active points for the perfect ratio, with magic pouring in and the spiritual vortex acting like a giant drill. Now watch closely. Opening these pathways was surprisingly easy this time. Still insanely painful, though. The new routine? Spend days gathering magic, and nights aggressively forcing meridians open while trying hard not to scream. Day after day, night after night, he eventually got used to the pain. He entirely took back that comment about going crazy. Turns out, you adapt to anything. One crisp autumn morning, he stood outside watching leaves fall and feeling the cool breeze. This summer changed everything. It unlocked an epic future filled with absolute, limitless possibilities. Suddenly, his father walked right over and hilariously smacked his head for daydreaming. Luca reached mid-level for months ago, while he still seemed like a beginner. His dad questioned his wild confidence when he declared readiness to soar. But the moment he revealed hitting beginner peak, his dad's attitude completely flipped. Moving inside, his dad grabbed a magic pen and carefully drew a second ring around his chest. Mark. Boom, he was officially a mid-level warrior. He explained that this mid-level mark absorbs powerful elements into his body. Once elemental energy fully washed over every part of him, his hidden potential would unlock, letting him massively strengthen himself using magic once again. After finishing that crucial second round of strengthening, he could finally advance to high level. At high level, he'd absorb one single element for pure resistance. Their choice? Lightning, matching the legendary Thunderlight Sword. Then, his father casually tossed him the actual Thunderlight Sword manual, the complete guide. It included magic ink formulas and detailed instructions for carving all future battle marks by himself. The strict rules: memorize it, return it, never take it outside, and absolutely never reveal what comes after the mid-level stage. I know what you're thinking, how to get it secretly. Luckily, his dad just threw it right at him. Perfect. With his insane training speed, advancing to fast would definitely scare people. It was way smarter to stay quiet and secretly level up like crazy. 18 months flew by since hitting mid-level. Summer was approaching once again, and today marked their final training class with Chris. Chris thanked his amazing students, reminding them that in 2 months, they would head to Highgar City for the Royal High Magic Martial Academy. He hoped they'd remember him when they became successful. Our MC thanked him sincerely. Luca promised to hire him for his future kids. Odora whispered a quiet goodbye. She seemed down lately, reason unknown. After Chris left, Luca stretched, celebrating his new freedom. Our MC quickly reminded him about morning training starting tomorrow. Without normal classes, his schedule was actually going to be way busier, not freer. But Luca dropped news. The Viscount and his father were leaving for the capital tomorrow. Gone for 2 weeks. Total freedom, he cheerfully announced. He'd sleep until noon. Luca called that boring. He suggested hunting on Echo Mountain instead, grabbing barbecue, and getting real combat experience. He warned that Echo Mountain had elite magical beasts. Without their fathers, it was basically walking straight to their doom. Luca promised to bring Captain Owen's guard squad. Then Odora jumped in, wanting to come too. She was never allowed before. Looking at him, she said it would perfectly clear her head. He finally gave in. The next morning, after their fathers left, he carried his sword to the city gate. Luca wore light armor beside Odora. Captain Owen brought 12 armed guards. Trust me, we're in for a wild ride. Odora rocked a breezy outfit, sporting a wide-brimmed hat with her bright golden hair tied back in a neat braid. Totally different from her usual stiff, noble vibe. So fresh and youthful. I totally caught myself staring a bit too long. Come along with me. Instead of taking the boring seats inside, I climbed up beside Owen. He mentioned the Viscount specifically left him behind just to keep an eye on our boy. Bringing him to the capital was totally useless, since the Viscount and my dad were already the territory's two absolute strongest warriors. Odora peeked out, asking if I'd join them inside. I teased that the outside breeze was way better. Popping the door open, she complained there was zero room out there. So, I grabbed my cushion, flipped right onto the carriage roof, tossed it down, and offered her my hand. The best seat in the house is ready, my lady. Care to try? Smiling brightly, she took my hand, while Luca scrambled up right behind us. Owen just sighed and slowed the horses. Sitting up there with the fresh wind in our faces, the endless countryside stretched out everywhere. It was an absolutely stunning view. Even Luca admitted I was right. Staring at the beautiful scenery, Odora whispered she wished every day could be this joyful. Luca gave her the softest look. It will be. Happy every single day, I promise. Arriving at the mountain base, we hopped down. Owen assigned one guard to stay back, specifically to protect Odora at all costs, giving us a very firm warning. We only join the fight when he says so. If we got injured, he couldn't explain it to our dads. Owen strictly warned us to take every magical beast seriously, since even level 1 creatures are far from stupid. Luca casually waved him off, while I promised we'd be careful. We hiked up the mountain trails for a good while, finding absolutely nothing. Luca was getting super impatient, but Owen explained adventurers had cleared out the entire entrance zone ages ago. We took a break at a halfway pavilion mostly for Odora's sake, since she was our only non-warrior companion. There was even a caution sign for magical beasts. Shortly after passing that spot, Owen finally spotted a level 1 frost ear. He explained it possessed one natural spell, Ice Spike, firing 5 times total before relying solely on its sharp antlers to charge. Watch closely. He sent 3 guards to silently flank its escape route, then finally gave Luca the green light. Luca rushed in before Owen even finished speaking. The deer instantly fired a massive ice spike, thick as a wrist and insanely long. Luca dodged easily, but this creature was clever. Seeing his crazy speed, it spun around to make a break for it. Luca almost closed the gap, but the beast slammed the brakes and threw a fierce backward double kick. Luca barely raised his heavy blade to block. The impact sent him stumbling backward, and while he was off balance, the deer whipped around, rapid firing its very last 4 frosty spikes right at him. He blocked the first, dodged the second, and deflected the third, but that 4th spike caught him directly in the left shoulder. His armor held, but a freezing chill started creeping into his body. Lowering its antlers, the creature charged. Luca firmly planted his feet, meeting it totally head-on, the intense collision almost pushing him backward. Gritting his teeth, he let out a shout, forced the beast's head aside, and drove his blade into its neck. The beast finally collapsed, totally defeated. Luca playfully nudged it, proudly declaring it was officially our lunch. Odora asked about his shoulder, claiming he was fine. Owen gave him a totally serious lecture about never underestimating your wild opponents. Let that sink in for a second. Even a level 1 wild beast had way more combat experience than Luca thought. A single mistake meant real danger. Luca admitted his carelessness. Patting his shoulder, I told him to flush out the chill using magic, reminding him that even fierce lions use absolute full strength just to catch a simple rabbit. Owen's men hauled our prize, and we headed straight toward a small nearby lake. Owen magically roasted the meat, and it was incredible. Crispy outside, super tender inside. Its natural flavors shining perfectly without heavy seasoning. Even Odora ate tons. While waiting for the rest, we sat lakeside, just enjoying that amazing breeze. Luca excitedly told Odora that the famous Echo Valley was just past the next ridge. Shout loudly, and your voice totally bounces right back. She looked super interested. I explained. Echoes naturally happen when sound waves hit massive cliff faces and perfectly reflect straight back. She wasn't exactly sure how sound could physically bounce, but I promised she'd completely understand once she tried it herself. After our meal, we pushed way deeper up the mountain. Owen allowed us to battle some weaker creatures we encountered for extra combat practice. Our absolute toughest fight was against a level 2 brown rock boar, a nasty beast with stone-hard skin, razor-sharp tusks, plus the annoying ability to summon giant earth spikes and solid rock shields. Luca and I teamed up, but our mid-level power barely left a scratch. Our strikes caused shallow wounds, forcing us to constantly dodge those brutal tusks and deadly earth spikes. Owen shouted crucial advice from the sidelines. Strike its belly the moment it rears up to unleash those earth spikes. I watched its patterns instead of hacking blindly like Luca, right as the boar knocked him flying with its tusks. You and I know exactly how this ends. I flanked its eye, and though its rock shield blocked me, I pushed through, completely shattering the rocks. Stick with me. My sword pierced its eye as it thrashed wildly. I dodged the massive tusks, landing too far away as it lunged at Luca. Luckily, Luca rolled right out of danger and charged back. The beast opened wide to summon a rock shield. I saw that exact move earlier, so I sprinted through its blind spot and struck its mouth, totally shattering the spell. Luca delivered a massive strike. The giant beast fell. I extracted the magic core, a stunning, perfectly round golden crystal that sparkled brilliantly in the bright sunlight. Owen mentioned these brown rock beast cores were insanely valuable for their beauty. Capital jewelry shops sold necklaces from these for 200 gold coins. Even the rock core alone fetched over 100. These beasts were heavily hunted. Odora held the core up to the light, smiling brightly, the happiest she had looked in weeks. Suddenly, a purple streak flashed past like lightning, swiping the core right from her hand before landing on a branch. It was a tiny purple mink creature with a super long tail. Owen recognized it as a lightning mink, an incredibly fast, high-level beast. Telling us to stay put, he dashed after it. Lucas completely froze, complaining loudly about his lost gold coins. But I did not stop. Watch closely. I kept my real level hidden for ages, but this was worth it. I channeled magic and shouted, Thunder Step, an epic combat move from the Thunderlight style, exclusive to high-level warriors. Purple lightning crackled beneath my feet, and I blasted forward faster than any mid-level warrior. Lucas dropped his jaw, slapping his own face to wake up. Meanwhile, Aaron, the only high-level guard, instantly recognized that epic technique. He saw my dad use it before, confirming I was already a high-level warrior. Odora stood completely stunned. She noted I hit mid-level under 2 years ago, while Luca still needed at least 2 more years to advance. I reached mid-level later than Luca, yet suddenly stood a full tier above him. Luca stood there, face in hands. Turns out, me saying I went easy on him was the absolute truth. I triggered Thunderstep, shooting past Owen. Shocked, he asked when I hit high level. I claimed it happened just days ago. He refused to believe me, arguing my dad needed a whole month to learn Thunderstep. I jokingly claimed I was simply smarter, then quickly sped ahead. Owen stayed calm because the toughest mountain beasts were only level 4. Plus, with Thunderstep, escaping was always an easy option. Here is a secret between us. My speed was not just Thunder Step. I also channeled spiritual energy directly through every single leg meridian. That made my movements impossibly light. I could pivot instantly, weaving through the forest perfectly like a fish in water. Standard Thunderstep only boosts straight speed, making sharp turns impossible. Even my dad only handled tiny adjustments. Catching the mink, I unleashed a massive thunder light slash. The little beast totally dodged, but my energy wave sliced multiple trees, leaving them completely charred. Totally expecting that dodge, I instantly followed up with a massive thunder spiderweb attack. I slammed my sword down, blasting fierce lightning outward in every single direction. It paralyzed the mink enough to drop the magic core. I dove for it, but the lightning-fast beast recovered in a total flash. Being a lightning element beast, its resistance was absolutely insane. Faking the core grab, I reached for the mink. It reacted fast, abandoning the prize, and whipping dozens of lightning snakes right at me. Zero time to dodge. I roared, Thunder Dragon Shield. A fierce lightning dragon coiled around me, blocking everything. Deciding the core was not worth it, the mink vanished into the forest. I grabbed the core and headed back. Upon returning, it absolutely bombarded me with eager questions. How? When? Why keep it secret? I stayed vague, claiming I broke through 2 days ago and had no idea why it happened so fast. Asking how I learned techniques in 2 days, I just said, because I'm a genius. He found that highly unsatisfying. Handing the core back to Odora, I teased, hold tight this time. She smiled, congratulating me on reaching high level. We then continued to Echo Valley, where Owen decided we would camp for the night. With free time before dinner, we explored. Luca told Odora to stand between the cliffs and shout. Cupping her hands, she yelled, I am Odora. The valley answered straight back, you. Then she shouted, I will become a mage. A mage. That explained her sadness. Her time was running out. What do you and I take from this? That potion trip was literally her absolute last chance. Stick with me here. Lucas started screaming out loud. I'm gonna be a legendary warrior. Watching them scream their big dreams at the mountains, I just couldn't resist. I cupped my hands, shouting, thunder and rain coming. Go grab the laundry. Lucas seriously stared at me like I was totally crazy. Odora laughed so hard, but Owen reminded us we were camping tonight. He joked that I really shouldn't jinx the weather. We quickly set up camp. Odora got a small center tent, surrounded by 3 larger ones. Owen made Luca and me share his tent. After a cozy campfire dinner, he organized strict guard shifts, 3 guys per rotation all night. He warned us to stay alert. I asked Odora if sleeping alone scared her. She smiled, saying she felt totally safe with us. I went inside, sitting cross-legged on my sleeping bag, to meditate. Luca was confused why I wasn't lying down. I casually told him, this is actually how I always sleep back home. He stared at me confused, then totally passed out from pure exhaustion. Owen noticed it too. He stayed quiet, but listened closely to this deep in the night. An absolutely massive roar shattered the silence. Green-striped unicorn tiger, wake everyone up. I snapped my eyes open, jumping up instantly. Owen grabbed his massive sword, rushing outside. But instantly, guard came flying, completely crashing into our tent. Before I could even process it, a giant white shape suddenly lunged. I threw a thunder light attack on pure instinct, dodging toward Odora's tent. That giant beast completely didn't expect a close range hit. It quickly raised a giant paw, wrapping itself in glowing green light to defend. Then Owen leaped in. His massive stone-clad sword slammed down hard, completely shattering that green barrier and driving the beast right into the dirt. By the bright firelight, I finally saw it clearly. Over 2 meters tall at the shoulder, 7 meters long, it had a giant whip-like tail, glowing white fur with bright green stripes, and a massive spiraling green horn on its forehead. Absolutely terrifying to look at. Owen tried fiercely following up, but that giant tiger rolled away with absolutely shocking, lightning-fast speed. It stepped back, green energy leaking from Owen's strike. Hurt, but not beaten. Suddenly, someone tightly grabbed my arm. Odora. She was trembling. I warmly promised everything would be fine, that we would fiercely protect her. Luca's muffled voice suddenly called from the collapsed tent. What's happening? Why is our tent down? The tiger roared back. But you and I aren't ready for this. Sprouting massive green wings, it suddenly blasted right toward Owen. Owen shouted loud. Heavy rock armor and stone plating completely covered him, meeting that charge head on. But its wing speed was totally overwhelming. Owen could only fiercely defend. Luca crawled from the wreckage. What the heck? That tiger is huge. I told Aaron's group to fall back, then used Thunder Step to join the epic clash. Aiming a bright thunder slash at the tiger's head, I yelled out that I had Owen's back. He loudly warned me this beast was top tier. A level 4 wind beast, fast, strong, using ranged wind blades and defensive barriers. 0 weaknesses. He told me to stay back and support from a safe distance. Owen's epic rock armor made his defense practically indestructible, so that giant tiger couldn't break him. I kept blasting thunder slashes whenever an opening appeared, but they were all perfectly dodged or completely cancelled by rapid wind blades. Suddenly, the tiger changed its strategy. It aggressively circled us, charging straight for Luca and the others. Owen slammed his huge sword down. A giant rock wall instantly erupted, totally blocking the tiger's path. It bounced off, landing back to furiously glare. Then Odora suddenly screamed, "Something's coming." I turned, spotting purple lightning atop a tent. The sneaky lightning mink had returned, boldly holding an egg. Then the terrifying screaming snakes arrived. Dozens slithered in behind the mink, led by a massive 2-meter fire serpent. Aaron identified the massive level 3 beast, realizing that sneaky mink had stolen its egg and intentionally led the swarm straight to our camp. Everything totally froze. The tiger watched the snakes watched the mink, and that mink watched us. Nobody moved. Owen quietly explained his plan. I'd closely protect Odora while carefully watching the tricky mink. He handles the tiger. Aaron fights the snakes. Then, the mink lunged at Odora, pulling her close with my left hand. I swung a thunder slash right. It dodged, hurling the egg straight at us, reflexively slicing it in half. Sticky fluid splattered all over Odora and me. This was extremely bad. Seeing its egg destroyed, the whole swarm violently charged. Owen instantly stopped the ground, sending cascading waves of sharp stone needles forward to slow them down. The tiger leaped over the spikes, but Owen threw up another wall. "Trust me, you'll want to see what's next." That sneaky mink kept targeting Odora specifically. "Stick with me, we are jumping straight into chaos." Fighting one-handed, holding her, while guards got overwhelmed by snakes. Several took hits and caught poison. Then it clicked. Those sneaky snakes were actually tracking the egg fluid on us. So, I ordered everyone to pull back and let the snakes chase me instead. I would lead them away with Odora. Behind us, Luca desperately yelled, "Protect my sister. I promise I will bring her back safe." I dashed toward the mountain peak, carefully controlling my speed so the swarm would follow me instead of turning on the others. That lightning mink chased us too, darting in with electric claw strikes, but its attacks were totally predictable, and I blocked every single one. Meanwhile, Aaron joined Owen against the tiger. They fought much better together. Same sword style, years of teamwork. Owen could finally go on the offense. The tiger realized it was losing the edge and retreated into the forest. Owen let it go. Since guards were hurt, one very badly, he quickly ordered everyone to pack up and move before those snakes came back. Once I put enough distance between us and the camp, I told Odora to hold tight and accelerated hard. We left the snake swarm far behind, but that mink refused to quit. "Now pay attention." It stayed right on us. Odora asked why it followed, so I told her to grab the magic core. The second she held it up, the mink started making excited noises. It wanted the core so badly. Odora nervously asked what we should do. I said there was simply no way it was surrendering 100 gold coins. She put the core away, and the mink exploded with lightning. It charged at absolute full power, way faster than me. I simply could not outrun it anymore. Protecting Odora while defending against its wild attacks, I took several sharp hits. This plan definitely was not working. I needed to go completely all out. The next time it lunged, I powerfully called out, "Thunder, Dragon, Shield." A massive dragon of pure lightning coiled right around Odora and me, completely blocking the attack. The mink landed on a nearby branch, just staring at my lightning dragon. The exact same move that stopped it cold this afternoon. Odora stared at the thunder dragon coiled around us and, amazed, asked what it was. I told her I would explain later. She pointed out high-level warriors only get 2 combat techniques. So, how did I have 3? I finally admitted I was actually elite level. Before she could ask anything else, the mink turned and ran away. After chasing me all night, now it wanted to flee. I was definitely not letting it escape. I held Odora tight and pursued at full speed. But wait, did you catch that? The lightning aura suddenly vanished. It totally burned through its burst mode and entered a severely weakened state, slowing down dramatically. I closed that distance incredibly fast. Then a massive white shape exploded from the trees and clamped its jaws around the mink. Energy scattered everywhere. The unicorn tiger had been waiting. I slammed on the brakes so hard I nearly fell, quickly spun around, and sprinted the other direction immediately. Odora gasped and tightened her grip on me. The tiger swallowed the mink like a simple snack and charged after us. Apparently, it wanted more for breakfast. I ran for hours the whole night carrying Odora. No water, absolutely zero rest. Even with all my meridians open and spiritual energy boosting me, pure exhaustion was setting in. I cursed that stupid mink. A level 3 lightning beast chasing a level 2 rock core. It did not even need, burning out its own energy, getting itself wrecked, and dragging me into this mess. Then the ground completely disappeared ahead of me, a huge cliff edge. I skidded to a complete stop right at the brink, nearly tumbling over. The tiger caught up and blocked the only way back. It stood there watching, probably worried its breakfast might fall off the mountain. I set Odora down. No more running. I have to fight. She looked at me with an intensity I had never seen before. Just go. Leave me. Do not be stupid. I promised your brother I would bring you back perfectly safe. Then she revealed what had been weighing heavily on her. In 2 months, she turns 14. If she did not awaken as a mage, her entire life would be strictly decided for her. Married off to some nobleman she had never met. Raising a family without love. Living as a meaningless, noble wife forever. She said she would rather fall right here than live that awful life. I was truly shocked. Only 13, yet carrying all this inside. Before I could even respond, the tiger fired sharp wind blades at us. It was clearly annoyed that its breakfast was talking instead of being terrified. I blocked the attack with Thunderlight Slash and said, "There is still time. You have to believe in yourself. You will become a mage. And right now, I am going to defeat this tiger and give you its magic core as an early congratulations gift." I charged right in. The tiger wrapped itself in its green wind guardian barrier and lunged at me. Good. It was targeting me. What do you and I love most? An epic showdown. I summoned Thunder Dragon Shield and met it head on. I flooded every single meridian with spiritual energy, activated all 3 combat techniques at once, and fiercely attacked with everything I had. Without Odora in my arms, I was actually much faster than the tiger. Stick with me. I spammed endless, epic Thunderlight Slashes. Being so huge, the beast could not dodge up close. It just tanked my strikes behind its wind barrier, and I was stuck too. Odora stayed right behind me. I let my Thunder Dragon absorb the wind blades, dodging only its massive fangs and claws. It became a pure battle of endurance, and this tiger was totally losing. Owen had already heard it earlier. Plus, it chased me all night using those wind wings. Its energy was dropping incredibly fast. One heavy claw strike connected, knocking me backward 2 whole steps. But I countered with a wild Thunderlight Slash that absolutely shattered its wind guardian. My blade slashed across its face. The perfect moment arrived. I roared. Thunder Dragon, roar. My almost shattered Thunder Dragon flared with blinding light, launching right at the beast's head and exploding on direct impact. This was my absolute strongest move. I saved it for this exact opening. The massive blast sent the tiger flying backward, its face ruined and vitality draining everywhere. I sprinted ahead to end the fight, but its horn suddenly glowed. Fierce wind blasted me instantly. Now, pay close attention. Countless fierce wind blades materialize all around me, violently closing in from every single direction at once. I threw myself sideways using Thunderstep, wrapping my entire body in spiritual energy. I swung my sword wildly to block as many as possible. It simply was not enough. Dozens of blades sliced me, ruining my shredded clothes completely. Thankfully, I narrowly avoided taking any totally permanent damage. Odora panicked and screamed my name, instantly drawing the furious tiger's attention toward her. Ignoring me, I lunged straight at her, pushing my battered body up. I triggered Thunderstep and brutally tackled the leaping tiger, knocking its huge frame sideways. It crashed into the dirt right beside her. I hit the ground hard too. Then, the rocky cliff crumbled. The beast pushed off using its hind legs, shattering the rock below them. Instantly, Odora and the giant tiger began falling. I desperately dove, catching her wrist just in time, but something suddenly yanked us downward. That monster's tail had wrapped tightly around her waist. We were all plummeting now, but I stayed perfectly calm. The beast was right below us, pulling Odora close against my chest. I fired endless Thunderlight Slashes straight down into the raging tiger's exposed belly. It had 0 defenses left. Every drop of magic went into that last wind blade assault. My brutal strikes carved deeply into its unprotected stomach. Right before impact, I flipped over, keeping Odora safe on top, channeling every remaining drop of spiritual energy to shield myself. We smashed aggressively into the tiger's lifeless, defeated form. Everything went totally black. You and I both thought it was over, right? But I woke up to Odora crying, begging me to stay. Smiling, I said I was fine, and she hugged me. We were completely covered in a chaotic mess from the battle. I was scratched up everywhere, barely standing upright. But hey, we survived and the tiger perished. I carved out its glowing magic core, which was fused to its horn, so I took everything. Then, I pushed myself to dig through the beast's stomach. Totally gross, I know. Inside, I found a purple lightning mink core. It swallowed. Before leaving, I cleverly carved a quick message on a tree saying we were completely safe, adding an arrow pointing our way. Then we quickly moved. The scent easily attracts other beasts. Odora kindly supported me while walking near the cliff base. We had zero water or food, but zero monsters. When she looked totally exhausted, I told her to rest and keep watch while I meditated. Sitting quietly cross-legged, I circulated glowing spiritual energy through all my meridians. This healing method was way better than regular magic or pure inner force. Spiritual energy works from inside and outside simultaneously. By midday, I opened my eyes. Most of my scratches were already nicely healing up. Odora quickly rushed over to help me stand up, but I cheerfully said I needed no support anymore. She looked surprisingly disappointed, but quickly covered it up. Joking, she was glad to have much less work. As we walked together, she curiously asked how I became elite so suddenly, and about my Thunder Dragon techniques. She had watched both our fathers spar countless times, yet never witnessed anything remotely like my crazy moves. Odora just kept eagerly asking questions. Eventually, I decided to share part of the truth, making her swear to keep it a strict secret. She raised 3 fingers, making a terrifyingly serious oath on her family name and her very soul. Honestly, I really did not expect her to go that far. I explained discovering an alternative training method, effortlessly combining it with the traditional way to multiply my growth speed several times over. The cross-legged meditation was a huge part, seriously accelerating my overall healing. The awesome Thunder Dragon was my modified version of the original Thunder Shield from the Sword Manual. I admitted modifying that single technique took 2 whole months, and I was actually elite level for almost a year. In days, I would reach the absolute peak elite stage. The only reason I was not a master yet was my endless experimenting with wild combat techniques. That is where we leave it. She begged me to teach her, but I refused. I trusted her, sure, but definitely not completely at her young age. Alright, stick with me here. This secret was way too risky, so I lied, saying my method just boosted basic training up to master tier. It only saved a few years. I told her to wait for that final awakening potion, since being a mage was definitely the best path. If that failed, I promised to teach her my sword techniques. But the second I brought up that potion, her entire expression completely dropped. She confessed she had absolutely zero hope of ever actually awakening. Suddenly, she hugged me tightly, pressing her face right into my chest. Take me away. Let's leave the territory together. After a few years, once we have kids, we can return. Our families are tight enough that my dad definitely wouldn't even punish you. I completely froze. When I finally recovered, I gently pushed her back, telling her not to joke like that. She just stared right at me. Her eyes looked totally different now, super determined, yet incredibly soft. Now, pay close attention here. I nervously looked away, but before I could even speak, she grabbed my face and suddenly kissed me. My entire brain short-circuited. I knew I needed to pull away, but my hands completely refused. After what felt like forever, she pulled away and softly whispered, "Lindley, I think I am falling for you." Then she confessed everything. How carrying her through the dark forest changed her view of me. I seemed strong and confident, making her feel incredibly safe despite the monster chasing. She explained how seeing me on that cliff, promising to take down the tiger as her gift, made me look like the most dazzling person ever, and how seeing me unconscious after that massive fall made her realize she absolutely needed me. I gently told her we had experienced way too much tonight. Her feelings were probably just a natural reaction of instinctive dependence. We were totally alone in grave danger, and I was literally the only protector there. I asked her to seriously think this through once we reached safety, but she just shook her head. She was totally calm, claiming she knew her feelings and would make this illusion real. Holding me close again, she explained exactly what her future looked like as a noble. By 16 or 17, she would be shipped off to whichever nobleman her father picked. A pure political alliance where her actual feelings never mattered. They would just claim it was all for her benefit, guaranteeing a comfortable, noble lifestyle. She absolutely refused to live like a trapped bird inside a fancy gilded cage, following someone else's script. Her own mother had once given her some huge advice. If a boy ever made her heart race, she needed to boldly chase him herself. Waiting passively only guarantees a forced marriage. Her mom was a count's daughter who bravely chased after a baron's son during a royal banquet. That bold move was why her parents shared a genuinely happy marriage. Staring right up into my eyes, she repeated it again. Lindley, I love you. Please take me away. Let's just leave together. Honestly, everything Odora said about noble society was completely true. Most girls get married off by 16, sometimes way younger. Not even princesses can escape that fate. Nobody ever asks what they want. Becoming a mage is literally the only escape. You and I both know the rules here. Warriors have a hard strength ceiling, and that absolute limit depends entirely on your specific technique level. Breaking through that limit, that requires a high-tier elemental mage who totally understands magic, arrays, and can perfectly design brand new battle marks. Finding that is insanely rare. Mages, though, they have absolutely no upper limit. Nobody knows their true potential. Plus, the Mage Association has this awesome golden rule. Any mage can officially reject an unwanted marriage before they turn 20. No noble family would just blindly give away a mage child. Since mages can forge magic scrolls, enchanted weapons, and even pilot giant magic warships, they are vastly more valuable than standard warriors. So naturally, becoming a mage was Odora's only real way out. Hearing her beg me to run away again, I would be totally lying if my heart didn't flutter. After 2 entire lifetimes of being totally single, this was the very first time a stunning, genuinely kind girl had ever confessed to me with such raw emotion. I was deeply touched, but not totally swept away. I saw her feelings were completely genuine, but they were definitely mixed up with future anxiety and the absolute adrenaline rush of our intense survival night. She clearly believed her mage dreams were over. So, choosing between an arranged stranger and someone she already liked, the decision was a complete no-brainer. Honestly though, I didn't see a single thing wrong there. Feeling something real and acting on it, isn't that true love? Being a firm believer in free love myself, I massively respected her crazy courage. I honestly told her, Eudora, I am so happy you feel this way. If you still feel this way after calming down, I promise to do absolutely everything to keep us together. But she insisted she was totally calm, swearing she truly loved me. She pleaded one more time to run away. I seriously asked if she was actually willing to abandon her parents and her brother. She claimed it wouldn't be forever, just a few years until we had kids. Then we could finally return, forcing her father to just accept the situation. I sighed heavily. Running away was a terrible plan. Holding her, Huntley said, she really didn't need to do this. So what's our next move? I promised she'd become a mage, but she completely lost hope. Stick with me here. Even wealthy noble families buying expensive potions rarely produced actual mages. The odds were terribly low. I thought hard about it. Then, I made a totally risky decision. Odora, I said, I might actually have a way to help you become a mage, so you wouldn't have to leave home. But, I don't know if it'll work. She immediately pulled away from me, suddenly super upset. You're lying. You just don't want to be with me, do you? Tears spilled down her cheeks. I gently grabbed her hands. Calm down. How could I ever dislike you? If you want to be with me, I'll always stay by your side. I'm telling the complete truth here. I really do have a method. Trust me. She stayed skeptical. In the entire history of this world, literally nobody had ever heard of someone helping another person awaken. Then try it right now, she declared. If it fails, you take me away. Promise me. All right, I promise. Whether it works or not, I'll stay with you. A girl this wonderfully amazing. Where would I ever find another one? My crazy plan was stimulating Odora's inang point, the upper core where spiritual power sits. Using my own spiritual energy, that's how I accidentally awakened as a mage myself. I honestly had confidence it could work. I'd once tested pushing spiritual energy into a horse's energy points. It definitely caused a massive reaction, though I thankfully stopped before anything crazy happened. But before we could try anything, Odara's stomach growled super loudly. She turned bright red. I was starving too. Watch closely. Seeing her embarrassed, I suddenly saw her totally differently. Now that I'd accepted her sweet confession, this girl who might become my future wife seemed to glow like a blooming flower. I just had to tease her. You didn't blush when kissing me, but a rumbling stomach does it? That instantly made her even redder. Laughing, we headed into the mysterious forest to find some food. There weren't many magical beasts down below the cliff, so I desperately hoped for some wild fruit. Suddenly, I heard a faint squeaking sound from a dark tree hollow. I climbed up, expecting something I could roast, and found a tiny baby mink, barely palm-sized. It had bright yellow and purple stripes. I brought it down, completely disappointed. Can't eat this. It's a newborn. Odara took it immediately and absolutely fell in love. She wanted to keep it as a pet. I mentioned it was probably some low-tier mixed breed, since the lightning mink from last night had been pure, solid purple. But when Odara pulled out the rock boar's magic core, the baby went totally crazy, squeaking and excitedly reaching for it. Then she set it next to the core. It calmed right down, hugging it tightly and falling asleep. Suddenly, it hit me. That's exactly why the mother kept chasing us for this core. Her baby needed it. I pulled out the half-digested purple core from the tiger and placed it near the baby too. It sensed something familiar and instantly hugged both magical cores super close. I looked at the little thing. Your mom chased me all night and got caught by a tiger. I avenged her for you, so consider the debt fully paid. You belong to Odara now. Odara playfully scolded me. You can't make a baby pay debts. Don't listen to him, little one. I'll spoil you absolutely rotten. She tucked it safely into her pocket with both cores. I playfully pretended to be jealous about being replaced so quickly. As we walked and searched for food, I asked about her mother's wild story, how exactly she'd pursued the Viscount. Odara got incredibly shy, then told me the honest truth. Her mother, a count's daughter, secretly invited the young baron's son to dinner, spiked his wine, and confidently made sure the deal was done. She even hired a life magic specialist to guarantee she'd get pregnant, ending up with twins. I was totally speechless. The Viscountess is definitely quite something else. Then I looked at her. Odara, so all your talk about running away and having babies, you learned all of this from your mother? She smiled proudly. Of course, these are proven methods. I instantly thought to myself, wow, that is really not something to be proud of. I know what you're thinking, right? I kept that completely quiet. The Viscountess was born in the wrong world. She'd be an absolute force back on Earth. Fiercely independent, highly decisive, and with absolutely terrifying execution skills. We found a river, so I jumped in to catch fish while Odara washed the grime off herself by the bank. I quickly grabbed 2 fat ones, and we roasted them over a fire. She suddenly remembered the tiny baby mink in her pocket and asked if it could eat fish. I smiled, saying it was way too young. It probably still needs milk. She cheerfully decided to name it Yaya, after the cliff where we found it. After eating, she was finally ready. Tell me how you're going to make me a mage. I warned her the wild method was theoretically sound, but entirely untested, and that it would definitely hurt. She bravely said pain was absolutely nothing. I had her sit cross-legged with her eyes firmly closed. I carefully placed my finger on her bi point at the top of her head, and began slowly feeding pure spiritual energy right into her body. She trembled immediately, but bravely told me to keep going. I went as slowly as possible, gently grinding rather than pushing, keeping the pain manageable. It took a long time, but I carefully opened a magical path down from bi to the Anang point directly between her eyebrows. Reaching the Anang point, I was extremely cautious. Remembering exactly what had happened to me, I carefully pushed in the absolute smallest amount of spiritual energy could possibly control. The instant it touched her spiritual mass, boom, it massively exploded apart, just exactly like mine had. Trust me, we're just getting started. I reacted instantly, pouring spiritual energy to form a vortex, pulling her scattered power back together. Once everything calmed, stick with me, because this gets wild. I sliced off my own spiritual energy, leaving it inside her to keep that magical vortex spinning, since she lacked the magic to sustain it. I ordered her to keep that energy spinning. She opened her eyes, paused for a split second, and then tackled me in a massive hug, loudly screaming that she could finally sense the elements. She was officially a mage. She kissed me, jumped around, and burst into happy tears. But then things got incredibly serious. I warned her never to tell a single soul that I could awaken people. She totally did not understand why. Wouldn't kings beg for my help? I explained the harsh reality. They would just lock me up and turn me into a tool. Enemy nations would absolutely assassinate me. Even the Mage Association's so-called protection meant losing my freedom. Only when my power grew beyond legendary could I safely reveal this insane ability. She understood. She raised 3 fingers and firmly swore. But then, she immediately grabbed my arm, suggesting we elope right now. Anyway, since we were officially a couple, she refused to be apart from me for even a single passing second. I quickly told her to drop those crazy runaway plans. She argued 14 was totally grown up, claiming some princess had married a king then. She hugged my arm tight as she spoke, pressing it against her chest. I awkwardly shifted away. She noticed, glanced down, and then shot me this incredibly knowing look. Oh, so you like them big? Well, do not worry. Judging by my mother, mine will definitely grow. I immediately stammered that I meant her age, not anything else. Honestly, for her age, she was not exactly small, but I wisely kept that observation to myself. I just sighed, telling Odora to stop dreaming about being a grand queen. I challenged her to cast one tiny spell. She totally froze, sheepishly admitting that she actually could not. I told her we were in the exact same boat. I was a mage too, but absolutely could not cast anything. We both had to hit Hygar Magic Martial Academy in 2 months to properly learn real magic. I asked her to try sensing her own internal body, just like she sensed those magical elements outside. She focused hard, but only felt energy entering her spiritual sea right through her head. Literally nothing else. That completely confirmed my running theory. If mages could actually see inside themselves, someone would have mapped acupuncture points ages ago. The only reason I could was because I opened my meridians. Now watch this part closely. We headed down to the river for water, and suddenly, mystical unicorn appeared right on the opposite bank. It casually strolled up, threw us a relaxed glance, and drank without any fear. Odora audibly gasped. Absolutely stunning. Pure white body, blue-green mane, and a 20-centimeter horn. Based on my research, that made it a level 4 wind element. Unicorn. Unicorns were actually one of the 3 strongest horse-type mounts in this entire world. Standing right alongside wind Pegasi and black flame stallions, they boasted incredibly diverse magic, devastating spells, and absolute peak agility. They could easily fight independently, not just as mounts. What really confused me was why it was even here. They are herd animals living near elven borders. One lone unicorn roaming this specific territory simply made zero logical sense. But I definitely was not questioning my crazy luck. I leaped across the river, charging it. Such a bad idea. The unicorn instantly fired 3 sharp wind blades at me. I figured no big deal. I had dodged tiger wind blades all night long. I blocked the first strike easily, swung at the second, and my weapon was instantly sliced in half. The third blade rushed past as I threw my body into a frantic roll. It sliced cleanly through a massive boulder behind me, leaving a terrifyingly mirror-smooth cut. Cold sweat drenched my skin. Each attack was infinitely stronger than the last, looking absolutely nothing like that basic tiger. I know what you are thinking. Time to run? Nope. I fired up my Thunder Dragon shield and charged right back in. The beast stomped the earth, launching a rapid tornado my way. I dodged hard sideways, but the insane twister literally changed direction to chase me. Tiny stinging cuts appeared across my skin just from its proximity. I desperately had to blast it apart using a heavy thunderlight slash. That unicorn never even paused. It stomped again, summoning 4 tornadoes this time. Total, absolute panic. I frantically slashed them to pieces, one by one. But the very second I destroyed the final tornado, 3 more deadly wind blades were incoming. I blocked the first, rolled under the others, and kept aggressively pushing forward. When I finally closed the distance, it simply turned and sprinted down the riverbank. It was way faster than me. I almost gave up when it stopped, whipped around, and launched more wind blades straight at my face. It was literally just toying with me. This creature was fiercely kiting me, running, stopping to blast magic, then fleeing again. Endless tornadoes and sharp wind blades. I was getting completely shredded. Then I spotted it running along the water edge, pausing right in the river shallows. That suddenly gave me a brilliant idea. I launched my Thunder Dragon directly into the incoming tornadoes. The wild collision created a massive explosion. That beast never expected my dragon to strike independently. While stunned, I dashed through the smoke. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. Stick with me here. I blasted the water with thunder. Spider web. Normally out of range, but water conducted the raw electricity straight to its hooves. The beast completely froze, paralyzed. I took a massive hit from my own lightning shockwave, since I stood right in that puddle. Thankfully, my electric resistance was high enough to recover instantly. Tossing my broken blade aside, I vaulted right onto the unicorn's back. I locked my arms tight around its neck and squeezed my legs. Once that paralysis faded, it went absolutely crazy, bucking, spinning, squealing, but I held on tightly. Horse-type magical beasts stop casting spells once someone mounts them, so at least I didn't have to dodge any more crazy tornadoes. Owen's loud voice echoed from far away, and Odora shouted right back. He climbed down the steep cliff completely alone. By following our markers and that fallen tiger beast, he finally managed to find us. Spotting the legendary unicorn, he froze in shock. One shouldn't even be in this territory. Odora practically begged him to intervene, but Owen refused. Taming a unicorn is a solo job. First to give up loses. He just couldn't step in. Unable to shake me on land, the unicorn violently leaped right into the river. The river wasn't super deep, but enough to completely submerge me while riding. I held my breath as it thrashed wildly beneath the surface. I just grinned. If dry land couldn't shake me, jumping into water changes absolutely nothing. During this wild chaos, the tiger horn tucked in my waistband slipped and sank, losing its stung, but taming this unicorn was worth way more. That rare horn rolled across the muddy riverbed, stopping on a large flat stone. The magic core attached to it suddenly sparked to life, like a switch flipped. Soon, the entire flat stone radiated an intense grayish-white glow. Watch closely here. Owen recognized it instantly. It was a magic array. He screamed to run. I released the unicorn and frantically tried swimming away, but I was too slow. A solid energy barrier erupted, trapping both me and the struggling beast inside. The blinding light peaked. In a massive flash of gray and white, the water, the unicorn, and myself simply vanished. From the distant bank, Odora's terrified scream faded as my whole world went completely blank. Owen immediately dove into the rushing river, finding only shattered stone fragments. He returned ashore, confirming to Odora it was a rare teleportation array. That is the only magic formation capable of making everything inside disappear instantly, even water. He guessed the unicorn arrived here through that exact same array by mistake, which perfectly explained its impossible presence in our lands. Odora desperately wanted to follow me, but Owen gently explained the array was broken. She broke down crying. He reassured her, reminding her I was a tough, elite warrior. They needed to return, alert the Viscount, and hire a mage to fix it. Gathering her remaining courage, Odora wiped her tears and agreed. Heading back home, they bumped into Luca's party. Odora shot Luca fiercely furious, glares the entire walk. Reaching the Grand Mansion, Owen immediately rode off to urgently inform the ruling Viscount. Furious, Odora dragged Luca into a spare room, violently punching him while screaming. This disaster was entirely his fault for demanding a hunting trip. I know what you are thinking. She completely snapped. She yelled if her Linley fell, Luca was finished. Luca was bewildered. Wait, you're Linley? Since when? She told him straight up. She loved me. We were officially together, and that was final. She also threatened him to train harder, or she would reveal his creepy maid spying habits. Luca stood completely stunned. He nervously asked how their father would agree. The social gap was huge. Odora smirked, saying their father couldn't refuse this match anymore because she had magically awakened as a mage. And so had I. Luca's jaw literally dropped to the floor. He slapped his own cheek, checking for dreams, and winced. He slumped down, muttering that they were both powerful mages, while he remained a foolish warrior. He was the actual clown. Odora fiercely declared that if I didn't return safely, they would hunt for me right after graduation. If he wasn't elite rank by then, she would expose his laundry-stealing secrets. He gasped loudly. You know about that too? She coldly replied. She knew way more than that. Meanwhile, I was dizzy, tumbling through a bizarre void. When it ended, I was completely submerged underwater. I quickly looked around. No Odora, no Owen, and no river. Just a massive lake surrounded by strange lands. I saw the unicorn floating unconscious. I grabbed its mane and swam us ashore. For a wild second, I seriously thought I got sent to another dimension. Then I checked the unicorn. No, just teleported somewhere far. The beast woke up and tried sprinting away, but instantly collapsed. I pinned it effortlessly. It totally struggled, then finally surrendered to fate. I asked if it truly yielded, commanding it to snort twice for yes. It actually did. I slowly stepped back. It stood up, stayed completely loyal, and snorted 2 more times. It finally accepted me. I collapsed onto the grass and evaluated my state. My current situation was awful. So where does that leave us? Battered, weaponless, and wearing barely anything. I glared at the mighty beast. This is entirely your fault. Your tornadoes barely sting, but they are experts at shredding clothes. It cried out twice. Stick with me here. I dove back into the lake looking for that teleportation array, but found absolutely nothing. So, hopped onto the unicorn and said, let us go figure out our location. I rode her deep into the forest and scaled the tallest tree it could possibly find. Endless green in every single direction. I was totally stranded in this massive forest with 0 weapons, no clothes, and absolutely no clue where I was. I decided to focus completely on what I could control. First priority was finding shelter, healing up, and making myself look decent, so I would not be mistaken for a total lunatic by anyone. I spotted a huge broken tree near the lake, maybe 6 or 7 meters wide, and figured I could hollow it out for shelter. Then I checked my empty hands. No sword, no tools, just the tiger horn, which was super sharp, but totally useless for carving wood. Then I stared at the unicorn. Her powerful tornadoes had been excellent at shredding things today. I strolled over, flashing a very suspicious grin. Hey, unicorn buddy, see that giant tree? Could you maybe blast a big hole in it for me? Now watch this. Total silence. She ignored me. I tried again. Nothing. Then it hit me. Maybe she was female. Excuse me, Miss Unicorn. She happily neighed in response. So she was female. After some coaxing and a promise of tasty grilled fish, she reluctantly fired several tornadoes into the trunk, carving out a 4-meter room, perfectly shaping the entrance exactly to my own specific requests. I caught fish, and we ate together. Turns out, unicorns are total omnivores. They will eat anything, even biting enemies in combat. I finally decided to name her. She completely rejected chasing wind, flying shadow, and lightning flash. She just shook her head. Finally, offered Jaina, honoring the Norse wind goddess from my past life. She happily accepted it. I decided against rushing out of this massive forest. This setup was absolutely perfect. I seriously needed a level 5 lightning magic core to break through to master tier. Back in school territory, I would never find one without causing a huge scene. My elite breakthrough core was basically stolen from my father's private collection. But this mysterious forest was packed with powerful creatures. I felt strong energy everywhere. I also really wanted to properly test and refine my modified combat techniques. Back home, I always held back because my skills were far too flashy. Here, nobody was watching me. I could go completely all out. Could I defeat a level 5 beast? With my upgraded techniques and Jaina backing me up, I truly believe so. At minimum, we could safely escape. So, the two of us happily settled into our tree hollow, making this wild, unknown forest our temporary home. Here is where it gets interesting. Elsewhere in this forest, 7 adventurers were creeping through the trees. 5 guys, 2 girls, heavily armed. Their strong leader, a warrior named Steven, carrying a massive great sword on his back, announced they had entered the deep zone of the Abyss Forest. He strictly ordered everyone to suppress their energy signatures, avoiding any dangerous level 6 or 7 beasts. A clever mage named Phil cast a presence-concealing spell over their group. Another skilled mage named Marshall pulled out a biological energy detection device. A palm-sized disc that sensed level 6 and above creatures within 10 kilometers. It showed absolutely nothing nearby, but a female warrior named Lita warned that some level 6 beasts could cross 10 kilometers in under a minute. Petty the archer then told everyone to stop talking and just keep moving forward. While I was getting comfortable, this elite team of 7 adventurers was making their way into my exact location, apparently called the legendary Abyss Forest. Their confident leader was a master-tier warrior named Steven, carrying a heavy great sword. The powerful group featured 6 master-tier fighters and 1 elite-level support mage named Phil. They were actively hunting a fire-type level 6 magic core. Their detection device could track level 6 and above creatures within a 10-kilometer radius. They advanced cautiously, bypassing a wolf pack of 12 level 4s and a level 5 that just was not worth the trouble. Their path led them toward what they called the Titan Tree, the exact massive tree I had scaled earlier. Apparently, it was a genuinely terrifying level 8 magic tree. Luckily, it stayed dormant most of the time, perfectly safe to pass unless someone foolishly attacked. Marshall jokingly warned it might have reached level 9 by now, baited near a lake. Probably the exact same lake I was peacefully camping beside. Their detector suddenly spotted a level 6 lightning beast out northwest, showing wild energy fluctuations that meant it was locked in heavy combat. They quietly debated whether to investigate. Lita suggested checking it out immediately. Steven nodded, figuring if the furious beast was weakened enough, they could completely take full advantage of the situation. They crept closer, and Phil sent her magic eyes to scout. Then she just went completely, utterly silent. Steven pressed her. "Well, what do you see?" she whispered, completely stunned. "A human and a unicorn are absolutely dominating a thunder battle bear. Wild, right?" Marshall was confused. Why the magic read this powerful human as just level 5? Let's jump into the madness. Petty, the archer, asked the real question. How is a master warrior crushing a level 6 beast? Phil quickly corrected them. The unicorn? Just chilling far away. It was entirely the human fighting. Intrigued, Steven ordered the whole squad to move in for a closer look. Phil warned that the human's combat style was bizarre, but Marshall just laughed it off. With 6 master-level fighters on their team, what could possibly go wrong? Steven immediately shut him down. He asked, "How many of you could absolutely dominate a level 6, Thunder Battle Bear?" "Being careful costs nothing," Phil whispered. "You'll understand once you see him." Yep, that human was me, totally clueless. I was being watched. The adventurer squad stepped through the trees and absolutely froze when they saw me throwing down. I had been surviving in this crazy forest for months. I already broke through to master level, upgraded my combat skills, and even invented a new fighting style, all based on the 18 dragon subduing palms from a martial arts novel I read back in my past life. Those moves were purely fiction back on Earth, but I just copied the cool forms and figured out how to fuel them with raw spiritual energy on my own. The results were absolutely mind-blowing. Every single palm strike launched a tracking thunder dragon. The massive thunder battle bear could not dodge them and had to eat every single blast head-on. Then it countered with its signature thunder strike, a brutal move. Steven later admitted he could never tank easily. I met it palm to palm using Proud Dragon Show's remorse, and perfectly matched its crazy power. Now watch closely. Here is the funny part. I could not actually hurt this bear. Its lightning resistance dwarfed mine, making my flashy attacks practically useless against it. Plus, my heavy burst techniques burned through way too much energy. Honestly, the big guy was just my sparring partner. I'd show up, practice my moves, and simply bounce whenever I got too tired. Gina just chilled on the sidelines, watching me. When she finally warned me about approaching humans, I instantly backed off and returned to her side. The bear walked off too, clearly thrilled to be free. Real people. After months totally alone in this forest, these first humans were my ultimate ticket out. Their group leader, Steven, stepped up and introduced himself politely. He explained they traveled from the Imperial capital. Their mission? Hunt a level 6 fire beast for a magic core, helping someone break through to the legendary tier. He called this nightmare the Abyss Forest. Well, that totally explained why I was lost forever. I had basically been wandering the deep zone, surrounded by level 7 and 8 beasts, constantly walking in circles. I powered down, canceling the thunder dragons and dropping my burst mode. My glowing purple hair shifted back to black. My aura completely vanished. I looked like any ordinary teenager. I shared my name, introduced Jaina, explained my accidental teleportation here, and politely asked if they could guide me out. That is when the tall female warrior Lita started whispering to her crew. She argued my young age made master tier totally impossible, and that I was suspiciously calm for someone stranded alone for months. Plus, my wild, explosive transformation was something she had never even heard of. She claimed not even a legendary warrior could casually dominate a level 6 thunder battle bear the way I did. She insisted I was hiding something big and was absolutely dangerous. Petty, the archer, fully agreed. You feel that too, right? They wanted to just abandon me. I stood there completely dumbfounded. I told the honest truth, and nobody believed me. I snapped, just because you cannot train that fast does not mean nobody can. I am a genius. Everything I said is real. I seriously need you to help me escape. But the whole group just stared back with even heavier suspicion. Luckily, Phil spoke up, claiming she believed my story and sensed zero hostile intent. She called it pure women's intuition, and Marshall actually agreed with her. A powerhouse like me had zero reason to target them. Steven chimed in, noting that anyone casually riding a unicorn probably had some insane background anyway. After some serious discussion, Steven explained they could not escort me out just yet. They still desperately needed that fire-type magic core from the deep forest. But I could travel with them, and we would leave together afterwards. I totally agreed, offering to fight right alongside them as payment for my rescue. Steven suggested we hunt my old friend, the Thunder Battle Bear, just to practice our teamwork. He even offered me first pick of the sweet loot. I rode Jaina and shot forward to intercept the beast. When the team caught up, Steven was absolutely stunned by her insane speed. She was way faster than any normal level 5 unicorn should be. Lita just muttered that neither me nor my mount were actually normal. I activated my signature thunder transformation. It was my personal burst technique, totally inspired by the lightning minx power-up. My hair spiked straight up, glowing bright purple. Wild lightning crackled across my body. It literally looked exactly like a super transformation from those classic manga I loved. I almost named it Thunderburst, but the insane visual effect made my inner child scream with pure joy. The battle began. I clashed with the bear palm to palm, while the squad surrounded it. That is where we leave it. Marshall launched a fireball, but the bear spat a lightning orb that swallowed it completely. Let's jump into this battle. I sent a thunder dragon to intercept, devouring the lightning strike and returning to me completely supercharged. Petty shot a wind energy arrow, but that massive beast instantly activated its shield. Every strand of fur sparked with wild electricity, weaving a perfect net that easily blocked the shot before Steven and Lita joined the melee. The monster unleashed thick chain lightning, blasting Steven away before violently bouncing straight toward Lita, then hitting William, and finally, targeting Carter. My trusty thunder dragon lunged forward, swallowing that fading bolt and growing significantly stronger. Roaring loudly, it charged the beast. The creature countered with another lightning orb, creating a truly massive electric shockwave. Only Lita and I, both lightning users, held our ground. Everyone else retreated. Lita stared at my thunder dragons in absolute disbelief. An independent defensive technique that absorbs enemy attacks, levels up, and fights completely on its own? Pure madness. She never saw or even dreamed of an epic technique like this. She started fighting alongside me, using incredible speed for flank support, but her ranged strikes barely dented the creature's high lightning resistance. Watch closely here, because she thought she found an opening. Right after I hit the monster with the dragon palm strike, she dashed in, using her signature thunder flash, literally transforming into a lightning bolt aimed at the target. Sadly, she walked right into a trap she set, since my attack never actually stunned it. I was only creating space to breathe. The beast's electrified paw violently slammed her weapon, sending devastating energy surging right through her entire arms. Seeing her charge in, I knew she was in serious trouble. I sprinted over, powerfully slapping my palm against her back right before that heavy impact. Pure spiritual energy rushed from my hand into her, instantly dispersing that harsh incoming lightning and strongly reinforcing her arms. She impressively held her ground against that full power strike. Totally shocked. That mysterious energy just saved and even buffed her. She froze. I quickly yanked her collar back before the monster could follow up. Steven actually thought I attacked her earlier, but Lita quickly confirmed I had totally saved her life by safely transferring my spiritual energy into her body. Phil quickly cast a life magic physical enhancement buff on everyone. I felt a nice 10% boost in speed and strength. Exactly what we needed to finally overpower this beast. I warned everyone to go completely all out, because my epic burst mode would not last forever. The entire team engaged perfectly. Steven charged with his great sword. Marshall launched heavy fire spells. Petty rained down arrows. And Jaina unleashed sharp wind blades, skipping tornadoes to save allies. We pushed the beast back hard. But then, it snapped and roared incredibly loudly. Its massive body swelled up. Both paws ignited with pure, blinding lightning. I know what you're thinking, but it ignored Steven's sword, cutting its body completely. It swung at me with insane power, and blocking it, I instantly knew I was in deep trouble. That raw force was on another level. I was launched into the sky, spinning wildly several times before hitting the ground. My entire left arm was ruined, heavily trembling and sparking with residual lightning. Basically useless now. Suddenly, Steven shouted Lita's name in panic, since she had been right behind my heavy fall. Its fierce follow-up caught her instantly. Her strong thunder shield completely shattered under that wildly enraged and powerful strike. She came flying toward me, coughing heavily. I safely caught her with my right hand, but she was already completely unconscious. I quickly set her down and grabbed her fallen sword. The exact moment my hand gripped that hilt, my own wild lightning element powerfully surged. A magic weapon. Perfect timing. While Phil was casting healing magic on Lita, I quickly checked my own energy reserves. I could manage one more push at full power. Summoning Thunder Dragon Shield. I watched the monster completely crush Steven and William's defense line, charging straight for me. It clearly knew I was its biggest threat. I swung the sword, launching an epic new technique. Thunder Sword. Kai. A massive crescent of pure lightning flew from the blade, slicing through its lightning ball and cutting deep into the monster's forearm right to the bone. Sparks flew everywhere. Wielding a sword again after 4 months felt incredible. I followed up perfectly with Thunder Dragon Binding. Wild lightning spread from my sword tip across the ground, and a massive dragon erupted beneath the beast, coiling around it. The monster broke free almost instantly, but that single second was all I really needed. It suddenly fired another lightning ball. I used an epic master level technique, Thunderlight Thrust, driving my sword straight forward. A needle-thin beam of pure lightning pierced straight through the ball, instantly detonating it, and punched right into the monster's side, blasting a massive hole completely through its body. The beast was falling, and it knew it. Wild lightning erupted across its body while Steven screamed loudly. Legendary technique. Heaven's Thunder. Explosion. I didn't hesitate. I quickly scooped up unconscious Lita, picked a clear direction with 0 obstacles, and immediately activated Thunder Shift. That's where we leave it. My modified Thunder Step trades all maneuverability for insane speed. Stick with me. We are kicking things off with a massive explosion of speed. Behind us, that huge bear completely detonated. Hundreds of lightning strikes blasted a 100-meter radius. Steven panicked, snapping a protective scroll open just in time for the 6 members. The magic barrier barely held up. I completely outran the blast zone, but slammed hard right into a tree. I slowed down just enough to survive, though my legs were absolutely screaming in pain. Honestly, my Thunder Shift felt like a total failure. Blindingly fast, but 0 control. It only worked for quick emergency dashes, and holding it too long punished my legs way too much. Looking back, Steven's group somehow survived that Heaven's Thunder explosion, hiding safely behind multiple layers of epic shields and stone walls. Everyone made it out intact. Seeing a legendary level technique for the first time was genuinely terrifying. Now, it made total sense why only legendary tiers and above count as true powerhouses. Master level warriors would instantly vanish without perfect defenses. having unleashed its final wild attack, the Thunder Battle Bear completely collapsed. Rushing back with Lita, I drove a sword straight into its head and ripped out the magic core, taking only the core as my share. I watched Steven use spatial gear to make the entire massive bear body just magically vanish away. Phil promised Lita would fully recover by evening with some healing magic. After that, Steven finally gave everyone a proper team introduction. Like me, Lita was a lightning master built for speed and technique. Meanwhile, Marshall was a fiery mage. William served as Steven's personal earth warrior guard, while Petty was a super rare bow-wielding windmaster. Phil was an elite life magic support mage, the absolute core of any good team. Carter was an ice warrior acting as Phil's personal bodyguard. You and I both wondered why Carter literally did nothing during that massive fight. Turns out his one and only job was dedicated protection. Phil walked over to heal my injured left arm, completely wrapped up from head to toe in her robes. I could not see her face at all. Her warm, healing magic felt weird, but worked lightning fast. The pain vanished as my wounds closed up tight. Lita thanked me deeply, but I reminded her, teammates help each other, suggesting we rest at my own camp. After I did some serious sweet talking, Gina reluctantly agreed to carefully carry Lita. Reaching the tree hollow, Steven lent me spare clothes. I rode Gina toward the lake, washing off and ditching those awful animal skins I wore for agonizing months. Finally, some real clothes. No more awful heat and smell. Coming back looking fully human. Marshall actually joked he thought I was some kind of weird humanoid magical beast when they first spotted me. Steven asked about my epic dragon palm techniques. I explained these dragons came from my homeland's myths, totally different from real dragons in this world. He was genuinely blown away by how incredibly lifelike they all looked. They roared, moved independently, and literally fought like real summoned creatures. Honestly, the roaring was just me vibrating spiritual energy to make cool sound effects. I spent days perfecting that trick. Shouting those dramatic technique names in battle was pure showmanship. Every palm strike hit with the exact same power. No matter what crazy name I yelled out. So what do we learn here? Power fades, but looking epic is absolutely forever. Seriously, who can resist an awesome technique? Marshall burst out laughing, totally agreeing with my bold logic. He claimed being flashy attracts girls, seeing huge potential in me. Meanwhile, Lita just stared at him with pure, unfiltered disgust. Saving Lita made the entire group relax around me. I finally told them the wild story of how I got randomly teleported out here. They revealed my home kingdom was located impossibly far out to the west. So far away that only Phil had seen it mentioned in rare books. Luckily, nobody questioned my training methods. That stuff is strictly private in this crazy world. I casually explained my palm techniques were just special martial arts skills, designed perfectly for moments when I accidentally lose my main weapon. They completely bought that explanation. I really was not worried about any shady betrayals. Attacking me gained them nothing, and staying friendly could be incredibly useful for them later on. Lita needed overnight healing, so everyone camped with me. I slipped away to quietly meditate and fully recover. This gave me time to reflect on my 4 months here and all my progress. Conceptually, modifying these magical combat techniques really was not that hard for me. The real struggle was practicing every single move until it flowed perfectly in actual battle. Normal warriors completely lose control of a technique after releasing it. Their magic locks elements into one attack pattern, and once it leaves their body, it is done. Zero adjustments allowed. That is why traditional combat moves stay so simple and rigid. Now pay attention, because you and I know this single detail changes the entire game. My Thunder Dragon Shield was originally a boring static barrier. I reshaped that raw elemental energy into a living dragon form. Stick with me here. By using spiritual energy for remote detonation, I completely flipped a defensive skill into an independent attacker that actively absorbs enemy lightning strikes. Originally, Thunder Spider Web blasted an entire area with paralyzing electricity, even zapping friendly allies. So I tweaked the web's spiritual energy to focus lightning on specific targets, even forming an epic dragon to constantly and forcefully lock them down. Thunderlight originally just coated my weapon with raw lightning, extending its reach in a Y arc. I compressed that scattered energy into a tight, crescent-shaped blade of pure force. massively boosting both range and power. I could even launch it completely barehanded, or just hold that surging energy on the blade for continuous enhancement instead of firing. One technique, two totally different styles. Thunderstep could not be tweaked much. It simply surges lightning directly through your legs for speed. My only real upgrade was routing it through my leg meridians for better agility. The massive game changer hit at master level when I learned Thunder Force Amplification. The original move gently sparks lightning across your entire body for a steady boost to strength, defense, and speed. But it wraps your internal organs too. And organs are much weaker than muscle and bone, so the duration strictly depends on how much your delicate insides can handle. By channeling everything directly through my meridians, instead of soaking my flesh, the dangerous strain on my internal organs literally dropped to zero. My only limit became meridian endurance, which was basically endless thanks to years of brutal conditioning. Now pay close attention. I cranked that gentle spark into an explosive blast across every meridian, creating pure thunder transformation. The boost was absolutely insane. That is how a master tier warrior like me battled a legendary beast head-on. Then I thought, if explosive activation works this well for my whole body, what happens if I push it way further for just my legs? That is how Thunder Shift was born. Instead of explosive activation, triggered detonation level power. The first time I tried it, the raw energy output was insane, but it instantly shattered both my legs. I spent nearly a whole month hiding in my tree hollow recovering. If Jaina had not brought me food, I probably would have faded away completely. So, Thundershift remained a total last resort sprint. Blindingly fast, totally uncontrollable, and completely devastating to my own body. After my legs finally recovered from that disaster, I carefully tested smaller amounts of lightning to find the exact minimum required for detonation. Turns out, there is a threshold. Too little energy and nothing happens, like gas failing to ignite below a certain concentration. I risked serious harm testing different levels, but I finally found a usable version. It is still past my body's safe limits and totally uncontrollable. You feel me, right? An escape skill with wild side effects, just like crazy cultivation novels. I also polished Thunderlight Thrust, a master tier range technique firing off a brutal, piercing beam of lightning. My only real upgrade was tighter control over elemental concentration for way more speed and power, plus detonating the remaining energy right on impact. It easily became my absolute strongest solo attack. As for summoning two thunder dragons at once, that is simply dual casting. The battle mark generates one, and I manually replicate that exact process with spiritual energy to forge a second. After practicing any technique enough times through the battle mark, I memorize the energy pattern and flawlessly reproduce it without the mark. Only the dragon shield stacks properly, though. Other techniques simply fire two copies simultaneously. The dragon subduing palm is purely counterfeit. I just shape-released elements into dragon form. It looks absolutely incredible, but packs no special properties like real combat skills do. No paralyzing, piercing, or shielding. Just pure raw damage with superior flexibility. Zero weapons required. All my modified techniques share one glaring weakness: heavy energy consumption. The extra spiritual energy needed for post-release control adds up fast. The rest of my 4 months went into studying Jaina and her magic core. I ended up fully opening her Ren and Du meridians. Getting her agreement was tough. It is extremely painful. I had to explain the clear benefits simply enough for a level 4 intelligence to understand, but once completed, her pure training, speed, stamina, and agility skyrocketed. She easily broke through to level 5. During the process, I discovered that a beast's magic core sits exactly at the position corresponding to a human's yin-tang point. The core is basically a fusion of raw elemental power and spiritual force. When Jaina broke through, her core grew and shifted internally, which I believe is exactly why beasts automatically learn new spells at each level. So what do you and I make of this? Cores automatically absorb matching elements and repel others, perfectly explaining why beasts boast such insane elemental resistance. Let us jump right in. Beasts actually hold way more elemental power than magic. That tiny magic spark inside their flesh constantly makes them stronger, burning and recharging in one endless loop. After analyzing the core, I actually tried crafting a fake one inside my body. blending a chunk of my spiritual power directly together with elemental energy. I placed this artificial core into my middle dantian at the Shanzhong point. I refuse to put it near my spiritual sea. That is a mage's foundation, and I know too little to risk losing absolutely everything. This fake core acts like a beast's core in many ways. Yet I did not gain any automatic spells from it. Something crucial is missing, and I cannot guess it. This artificial core is not a physical thing. Even if someone sliced me open, they would find absolutely nothing. It exists exactly like magic and spiritual power. Real, but invisible. I cannot explain this wild phenomenon. Now, 3 dantians store different things. Upper holds spiritual power. Middle holds elemental energy through the fake core. Lower keeps spiritual energy. And thanks to this fake core, my appearance changed forever. My hair stayed black, but my eyes turned purple, constantly sparking with faint lightning, even without using my crazy new powers. Exiting the tree hollow that evening saw Marshall roasting some meat right over a fire. It honestly smelled incredible. They were cooking legendary grade Thunder Battle Bear meat, an incredibly rare treat. Steven quickly sliced me a piece. Marshall used fire magic for perfect temperature control, and they actually brought spices. After months of plain fish and unseasoned meat, I almost literally started crying. While eating, I could not resist asking how mages train. Marshall asked my age. I said 14, and everyone froze. You and I know a 14-year-old master is unheard of. Marshall said knowing mage training would not help, since you cannot awaken a spiritual sea past 14. Then Phil spoke from under her absolutely giant oversized hood. She revealed that while healing my arm earlier, she felt a super faint trickle of magic slowly entering my very own spiritual sea. It was incredibly weak. My spiritual sea clearly lacked training, yet her wildly strong perception still managed to catch it. She softly asked if I awakened my sea. Naturally, everyone just stared. Hiding was totally pointless now. Yeah, I actually did. Marshall honestly looked like he saw a literal ghost. A 14-year-old master warrior and naturally awakened mage? Insane. Phil said this perfectly explains my extremely flexible combat techniques during all those wild fights. Mages use spiritual power to control techniques after finally releasing them. That really surprised me. I used spiritual energy, not power, to control my awesome techniques, but I could not explain the difference without revealing too much. I stayed quiet. Then Phil casually mentioned something even more shocking. She was not human. That made her perception so sharp. She stayed covered in her robes, hiding her race. I was absolutely dying to know, and I bet you are too. But then Marshall stepped in with something super important. Since I used lightning elements to strengthen my body as a high-level warrior, my lightning affinity became way higher than any other magical elements. Learning lightning magic would be easy, but other elements would feel much harder, maybe 2 levels weaker at best. That meant I would become a single element specialist too. Marshall was actually a fire mage who trained as a high-level fire warrior, deliberately specializing to research fire-type battle marks for his merchant family business back at home. They hoped he would eventually create legendary marks, though he was not sure he could reach legendary himself. He asked if I could meditate yet. I told him I knew absolutely nothing about magic. That is exactly why I was asking. Marshall gave a basic explanation. After awakening, mages use meditation to convert magic power into spiritual power, then use that spiritual power to expand their massive spiritual sea. A mage level depends on how strong their spiritual power gets and how large their spiritual sea grows. The bigger the sea, the wider your sensory range. The stronger your spiritual power, the better your control. The huge difference between warriors and mages? Warriors use magic power to drive elements through marks for epic raw combat techniques. Mages use spiritual power directly to range elements into patterns and cast wild spells. I asked where regular magic power fits in. Marshall said spiritual power is just a much higher form of magic power. Magicologists have long considered spiritual power to be the superior energy evolved from magic. Phil disagreed immediately. She said her teacher believed magic power is actually a massive mixture of energies, and spiritual power is just one part extracted through meditation. They started arguing. So what do you and I make of this insane debate? Superior energy school versus the mixed energy school. Steven sighed. telling me to just ignore them. They had been arguing forever. I asked what magicologists were. Let us dive in. Steven explained. They research magical innovation and everyday uses, not combat. They had recently invented magical fridges, air conditioners, and stoves. Those were insanely popular across the Grand Imperial capital. My jaw totally dropped. That sounded like a full-blown magical industrial revolution. My hometown was super remote, so we never heard of this. Steven finally snapped, telling them to just teach me meditation instead. They both shouted that they would teach me. Marshall argued for the superior energy method, claiming it massively boosts both spell and combat technique power. Phil countered, insisting the mixed energy method gives much finer control over releasing tricky techniques and raw magic. Plus, my current techniques were already ridiculously powerful. They started bickering again until Lita, still healing up, angrily snapped at them to shut their mouths and give her quiet. I cheerfully suggested they both teach me, so I could easily figure out which awesome method suited me best. Ladies first, so I let Phil start, which Marshall grudgingly accepted. I carefully memorized both deep training methods. Then I asked some crucial questions. Phil explained both methods convert the exact same amount of magic into spiritual power. It looks perfectly identical. Nobody can actually tell the two types apart at all. Many mages even alternate between both, gaining small bumps in power and control, though it is not quite as effective as completely specializing in one. I asked one final burning question. Why does spiritual power actually need a vortex? Phil explained the vortex keeps everything concentrated. If it scatters, your brain basically just completely shuts down. The vortex also pulls magic right into the spiritual sea. She warned me never to drain all my energy. I told them I would try both methods and see what fit me best. I sat cross-legged right there, trying meditation for the first time. Having two elite mages nearby seemed super helpful if anything went wildly wrong. Watch closely here. As I focused purely on my spiritual power, I dropped my guard and my aura leaked. Marshall and Phil simply noted that my ability to hide my raw power was incredibly impressive when suppressed. I felt totally normal, but then they noticed a detail that made them both start trembling. My magic was not entering my spiritual sea through my forehead like every single other normal mage. It flowed straight through the top of my head. Marshall could barely even speak. A legendary tie-in mage. Phil was equally rattled. They called Steven over instantly. Marshall practically screamed that they must pack up and return right now. Forget the fire magic core. Everyone gathered around totally confused. Phil explained, a tie-in mage, meaning reaching the heavens, is incredibly rare. Magic pours from their crown straight down into the vast spiritual sea. Throughout history, every surviving tie-in mage grew to hit at least the mighty saint level. They advance at insane speeds. The Alliance has not seen one in 2 centuries. The last was Dongfang Xiao, now the absolute strongest mage god of the Uni Empire. Steven asked if they were totally wrong. Both mages said absolutely not. Any trained mage recognizes this. I know what you are thinking. They only noticed because my deep focus dropped my concealment while they stood extremely close to me. The entire team debated what to do. Steven suggested 2 options. Hand me over to the Mage Association for an immediate cash reward, or secretly befriend me for far bigger returns much later. Marshall and Phil rejected that idea. I needed no help. At any magic academy, my massive talent would be super obvious. The association would prioritize me completely. Their endless resources would totally dwarf anything this little team could ever offer. A 14-year-old master warrior and tie-in mage? I would hit legendary fast. What could they actually offer me then? Phil said their best play was incredibly simple. Explain everything honestly, return safely, and claim that fat association reward. Meanwhile, I was just completely oblivious to all this. I carefully compared both training methods, finding that, just like they claimed, the spiritual power from both felt completely identical to my senses. I would need real combat practice to spot any difference. Opening my eyes, everyone stared like I was a priceless artifact. Why look at me like that? Phil asked if I knew what a tie-in mage actually was. No clue. Was it some rare elemental specialty? She explained, it is a ridiculously rare gift where magic continuously floods the spiritual sea through the crown, making intake speeds absolutely enormous during meditation. We just witnessed greatness. Is that not how everyone works? I asked, genuinely confused. Marshall sighed. We are definitely not that lucky. Let us jump into this together. They explained how uniquely different I was from every single mage out there. Realizing my true tie-in power, it left me shaking. Historically, those surviving their youth hit saint level. That is an absolute, direct path toward becoming a mage. God. Right now, only 5 living mage gods exist on this entire continent. But what got me completely hyped was a huge secret they missed. I could literally create Tanjin mages myself. It just takes unlocking that magic pathway from Biwi directly to Anang. I did it for me, and I opened Eudora's Anang too. If I finished her full connection, she would absolutely become one too. The raw potential was staggering, but I forced myself to chill. This stays entirely secret. Steven declared they would cancel their fire core hunt and safely escort me out early tomorrow morning. Delivering me safely to the Mage Association guarantees them a legendary magic core of any element. I felt slightly guilty for ruining their mission, but they stubbornly insisted on helping. I admitted I still could not actually cast spells yet. I basically only knew meditation and 0 complex magic patterns. Marshall claimed that could totally wait for the Magic Academy. Plus, neither he nor Phil knew lightning spells anyway. So the next morning, we finally marched out. Passing that massive titan tree, I discovered it was a level 8 magic tree. I completely gasped. I literally climbed that giant thing multiple times earlier. Lita just laughed, swearing we could not ever wake it up anyway. Upon finally reaching the tense border between the deep zone and outer forest. Now, you and I finally see why I was stuck. A gigantic illusion array covered the entire border, placed 1,000 years ago by mage god Lilith. It stopped wild beasts escaping and completely prevented random people from wandering inside. Though only level 6, it easily blocked legendary creatures, and its sheer scale was magnificent. Lilith even got an entire huge city named honoring her. Steven whipped out a cool guidance scroll, a magic compass holding a glowing needle. We followed it through that crazy illusion for an hour, finally stepping into the outer forest. Everyone instantly unleashed their master auras. In this outer zone, monsters were merely level 2-4, so they scattered immediately. Even rival adventurer groups gave us massive space. Out in this wilderness, stronger teams robbing weaker ones was just a brutal, common reality. Steven explained Lilith City housed a massive mage association branch, meaning it was incredibly safe inside. Curious, I asked about a mage god's lifespan. He replied that they only live around 600 years. Humanity's ultimate weakness is our incredibly short lifespan compared to other races. Phil noticed I was totally clueless regarding basic world events and graciously offered explanations. She explained that exactly 538 years ago, an abyss rift shattered the northern eastern continent. It released horrifying demons, chaotic beings craving pure, absolute destruction. To fight this nightmare, humans, elves, beastmen, dwarves, and mighty dragons forged a massive, unified alliance directly led by the elves. Miraculously, no major wars erupted among these fierce alliance members since. The Mage Association truly became legendary during this brutal era, since mages proved extremely effective at crushing demons. The brave alliance violently pushed demons back toward the rift, but tragically could not close it. The closer you get, the stronger those monsters become. That entire occupied territory became extremely corrupted and uninhabitable for anyone normal, basically transforming into an abyss extension. Phil then explained the continent's exact geographic layout. Both eastern and central continents stayed politically stable for over 1,000 years, firmly dominated by several major empires. The Elven Empire and Uni Empire run the east, while Dwarven, Beastmen, and Aegean empires completely rule the center. You and I know my western home was pure chaos. Over 20 small countries endlessly at war, completely divided from the center by the massive Shilun mountain range. The Mage Association basically only keeps tiny branches within Western Kingdom capitals, strictly to train rookies and ship geniuses eastward. My kingdom of shoes sat isolated on the extreme western coast, literally nowhere. Anyway, we finally reached Lilith City by sunset. Its magical walls were absolutely gigantic, standing for taller than any fortress I had ever witnessed in my past life. Steven mentioned they were initially constructed for beast-tide defense. But once Mage God Lilith built that illusion array, they basically just became iconic landmarks. You could literally spot faded magic formations carved into the heavy stone, though they likely stopped functioning many centuries ago. At the massive gates, the registrar's eyes bulged out. Seeing Gina, he completely stammered about our unicorn, which Steven just calmly confirmed. We officially registered our names and levels, then entered the city. Inside, the bustling streets were incredibly bright and lively despite the late hour. Glowing lanterns and huge crowds totally reminded me of my old life's night markets. Steven proudly brought us into a tavern called the Adventurer's Home, excitedly ordering everything on their menu plus extra wine. Then a girl brought food, but you and I are absolutely not ready for what lurked behind her. Let's dive in. See that fluffy tail swaying? Yeah, couldn't stop staring either. After months of dreaming about beast traits since arriving in this crazy world, I was finally seeing a real beast person. Honestly, that swishing tail looked way softer than any cute cat I had ever gently petted. Lita playfully smacked my head. She explained her little brother rarely traveled and never actually saw a beast person before. The sweet girl named Shally smiled warmly, telling us not to worry, since she was totally used to it. She rocked white twin tails, a blue hat, and an incredibly cute, slightly childish face. Interestingly, I quickly noticed she had absolutely no ears on the sides of her human head. They were completely hidden under her hat. I was dying to discover her ear shape, since her fluffy tail alone did not reveal her exact species. She dropped off the tasty dishes and happily bounced away. My eyes helplessly tracked her tail. Whack! Lita struck me again, sharply scolding that staring at a beast person's animal features was actually considered incredibly rude. I quickly apologized, wondering aloud about her species. Marshall just scoffed. Who cares? Just some beastmen. Steven instantly snapped at him to shut his mouth. He fiercely declared beastmen were equal alliance members, and arrogant Aline Empire citizens were definitely not superior to anyone. Lita calmly broke down the history. Now, pay close attention here. For generations, the Aline Empire cruelly enslaved beastmen, loudly calling those exact animal features pure proof of a completely inferior and lesser species. Following the alliance formation, conditions slowly improved. Then, roughly 100 years ago, the legendary Lion Clan birthed twin war gods, adding their resident god-tier shaman and 2 other champions. The beastmen suddenly boasted 5 god-level fighters that outmatched the entire Aline Empire. They forcefully made Aline free, every enslaved beast person, and boldly reclaimed stolen territory. The powerful elves and dragons helped force that amazing deal. Marshall fired back that Steven's Uni-Empire originally despised beastmen too. They only pushed for equality later, strictly to draft strong beastmen fighters into the Grand Alliance army. Steven sharply warned Marshall to hide those toxic opinions outside. Sadly, this fantasy world clearly struggled with racial discrimination too. Some terrible things simply exist everywhere. Confused, I gently asked why their cool animal traits were seen as proof of inferiority. I admitted the fluffy tail looked super cute. Instantly, everyone besides Phil stared at me like I had completely lost it. Petty jokingly suggested Phil check my eyes, or maybe examine my brain. Knowing I blundered the cultural vibes here, I awkwardly, but quickly, changed the whole subject to food. But honestly, I firmly believe they were the weird ones here. I know exactly what you are thinking. In my old world, a cute girl with a tail would be totally worshipped on the internet. One viral dance video equals millions of fans. Anyway, dinner was legendary. By the very end, Marshall and Petty were completely passed out drunk under the wooden tavern table. Steven was heavily swaying. Even Lita and Phil drank a ton. Honestly, Liz's slightly flushed cheeks definitely made her look much prettier. I cleverly refused all alcohol, using my young age as an excuse. My past life taught me that stuff was trouble. Afterwards, I finally enjoyed a hot bath, dressed in fresh clothes, and happily collapsed onto a perfectly soft bed for the first time in 4 whole months. My wild life was officially over. Lying there, thought deeply about Odura. She was probably at the academy by now alongside Luca. She was a strong mage too, although completely unaware. Had anyone noticed her gift? Was she thinking about me? Given her stunning looks and elite mage status, she surely had countless fans. Honestly, after calming down, Meishi realized her feelings were just a quick passing phase. A quick knock stopped my spiraling thoughts. It was Phil asking if I wanted to go safely explore the city. I was genuinely shocked. She usually stayed far away from everyone. Regardless, she guided me toward the massive central square to see Lilith's famous statue, with Carter quietly trailing behind. Walking there, I spotted a shop named Rainbow Light Magic actively selling weapons, armor, magic scrolls, and rare potions. I was absolutely blown away finding real daily newspapers. Nothing like that ever existed back home. This magical place felt centuries ahead of the entire Western continent. I asked Phil if they bought magic cores, and she said to go find out. I pulled out my bag, holding 12 cores, 2 level 5s and 10 level 4s, all collected during my long 4 months surviving the wild forest. I had previously fed the weaker ones to Gina, who somehow ate cores of every element without any complaints. Phil wisely advised me to keep the 2 level 5s and just sell the rest. The shopkeeper examined them, offering 180 gold coins. Phil confirmed it was fair, since level 4 cores typically sold for 15 to 20 gold each. I took the sweet deal. I asked about swords, but Phil warned this shop wouldn't have anything suitable for a powerful master level warrior. Hearing my high rank, the shopkeeper nodded in agreement. His entire stock consisted of lower-tier magic weapons. He suggested checking the guild or grabbing a temporary blade. Honestly, I was just thrilled to finally have money again. 180 gold coins, way more than my dad earned in 5 years. Outside, I asked Phil why I kept those level 5s. Trust me, you gotta hear this. She explained the enormous price gap. Level 4 cores sold for roughly 20 gold each. But a single level 5 started at 500 gold minimum. Just basic supply and demand rules. So, since the Alliance shared master tier martial arts everywhere to battle the abyss demons, master level warriors popped up constantly, completely crashing the price of level 4 cores. But stick with me here, level 5 beasts? Super rare, smart enough to retreat. And it usually takes 2 master tier warriors teaming up just to defeat one. Plus, you absolutely needed level 5 cores to craft master tier magic weapons. Without one safely embedded, your weapon just couldn't channel master grade techniques properly. Phil raised an eyebrow when I casually mentioned defeating a level 5 beast at elite tier. She totally called me a complete freak. I admitted Gina totally helped out. Back then, I lacked my burst techniques and could honestly barely keep up with that beast. Gina's speed changed everything. I asked about prices. Phil said Lita's lightning sword cost 1,800 gold. It boosted lightning techniques by 20%, using 10% more elemental energy. And get this, that was just considered mid-tier. The strongest magic weapon she ever saw at auction boosted fire techniques by 50%, featured 2 built-in skills, and held a level 5 core, meaning absolutely zero extra energy drain. It sold for 16,000 gold. So much for feeling wealthy. With my 180 gold, I couldn't even afford a decent sword. Instinctively, I reached into my pocket, firmly gripping the Thunder Battle Bear's legendary core. This beauty was worth at least 15,000 gold. I kept my hand buried right in my pocket. I absolutely could not lose this treasure. Phil looked highly amused by my protectiveness. Her voice sounded cheerful, even with her face completely hidden under that hood. Soon enough, we finally arrived at the massive central square. Now pay attention here, because Lilith's glowing statue stood right in the middle. At barely 2 meters tall on a simple pedestal, was completely breathtaking. Even carved in stone, this remarkable woman was stunning. Long hair flowing in a magical breeze, wearing a confident smile, one arm raising a staff high, her legs framed flawlessly by an open robe. The pose radiated absolute power and beauty all at once. Phil revealed this wasn't an actual carved statue. It was created directly through god-tier earth magic by Lilith's apprentice, a guy named Gray. He was a god-tier earth mage himself, the absolute strongest of his entire era. Normal earth magic constructs fade over time, but god-tier creations remain completely permanent. Gray apparently spent his whole life crafting statues of Lilith, the wonderful woman he loved and eventually married. Only 12 god-tier statues survive today. Each showed Lilith at different ages and fun poses, perfectly capturing her breathtaking beauty. This specific one was the largest, while the smallest was reportedly just palm-sized. 2 sat in the Uni-Empire Museum, 2 at Mage Association headquarters, and the rest stayed in private collections. One recently appeared at an imperial auction, selling for 5 million gold coins. 5 million gold just for a single statue. We've all been there, right? Either I completely misunderstood art, or poverty broke my scale. Phil then revealed the real reason she brought me here. All 12 of Gray's God-tier statues supposedly contained hidden magical inheritances directly from both Gray and Lilith. Anyone resonating with the statue using spiritual power might actually receive their epic legacy. If it was fated, she totally wanted me to try. I released my spiritual power, carefully scanning the majestic statue. Nothing. I wrapped it completely in my energy. Still absolutely nothing. It just felt like ordinary stone. Phil cheerfully said, not to worry at all. In hundreds of years, nobody ever publicly claimed any inheritance. Maybe nobody ever had. I figured it was completely fine. I planned to specialize in lightning anyway, so earth and whatever cool magic Lilith used probably wouldn't help me much. Phil mentioned that upon reaching legendary tier, mages could actually master multiple elements. But that was super far off. I looked up at Lilith's face one last time. Suddenly, her confident smile visibly shifted into something intensely, irresistibly alluring. Before I even realized what was happening, my hand instinctively reached past the railing straight toward the statue. Phil aggressively yanked me back right before I touched it, loudly warning me about the base's protective magic array. I snapped out of my daze. Looking at her face again, it was just a perfectly normal, confident smile. That seductive pull completely vanished. I quickly told Phil it honestly felt like I got charmed for a split second. She cheerfully claimed that was impossible. The statue sat here for centuries without anyone ever reporting anything weird like that. She assumed I was simply captivated by Lilith's beauty, but I was absolutely certain something mysterious actually happened. I crouched down, touching the base. Instead, Phil called it perfectly safe, since the association routinely opens a hidden compartment there, replacing the magic core powering that huge protective array. The instant I channeled spiritual energy into that base, absolutely everything changed. Suddenly, I was standing inside a mysterious room, a fancy bedroom featuring a heart-shaped red bed, pink floral curtains, a vanity plush sofa, and overflowing bookshelves. Literally everything needed for comfortable, cozy living. Except, there was absolutely no door. "Welcome to our tomb," a voice echoed behind me. I spun around. "Trust me, you'll want to see what's next." "Hello, Taiyan Mage. I'm Gray Lorenzo." My jaw absolutely dropped. The mage god Gray, Lilith's apprentice and husband. Let's dive in. I hit him with endless questions. Where was I? How did he know my exact magic type? He just smiled. "Honey, come out. We have a guest." Suddenly Lilith materialized alongside him. She matched her statue perfectly. Absolutely stunning figure, and a captivating face. No wonder Gray was totally obsessed with sculpting her. "Beautiful wife, right?" he boasted bluntly. I mumbled an awkward agreement, trying so hard not to stare at another man's partner. Then Lilith finally spoke, her voice just as gorgeous as she was. 2 whole centuries since the last Tun mage appeared. They explained everything to me. They were basically spirits lingering in a halfway state, sharing this sealed pocket dimension. Just the 2 of them, trapped for centuries. I offered to help out with any unfulfilled wishes. Lilith just laughed, claiming it was way beyond my current power. Gray then explained my real purpose. The whole fated person story? Just a complete cover-up. Those unique statues were literally built to find Tun mages. Scanning one with spiritual energy activates a sneaky charm spell, forcibly pulling you right in to touch it. The second you make contact, the magic drags you inside. Turns out, destiny had absolutely zero to do with this. It meant Tonyan, which made total sense. 2 literal mage gods weren't about to waste their legendary inheritance on somebody who could never reach their ultimate peak level. Gray stared at me and casually asked, "So, kid, want to take both of us as your new masters?" I instantly dropped to my knees. 2 god-tier inheritances? Only a complete idiot would ever refuse that. But before my head hit the ground, Lilith paused me. "Hold up. Gray is just messing around." I froze mid-kneel, face completely twisted in pure disbelief. Watch this, they drag me into this magical dimension and offer up god-tier powers as a prank. Have you two been isolated so long you forgot how to talk to living people? Gray just burst into hysterical laughter at my expression. I almost choked on my own rage. If I could beat them, I'd scatter them into the wind. But then I remembered they had already passed from this world. Nothing left to scatter. Lilith gently helped me up and explained. It wasn't that they refused to pass down their incredible knowledge to me. It was simply because modern magic academies had already researched and perfectly systematized everything they could possibly teach me today. I'd learn it way faster at school anyway. However, she revealed, they actually did have a massive gift for me. I just wasn't ready to receive it yet. High-level magic covering the 4 incredibly advanced branches: spiritual, soul, space, and time had barely evolved since their era. Honestly, some even regressed. They promised me their inheritance once I officially became a legendary mage. I immediately asked how they knew modern magic so well if they had been gone for centuries. Gray smirked, saying they were just lingering spirits, fully capable of pulling any ton mage into this hidden space. Get this, the absolute strongest modern mage god, Dongfang Xiao, was their former student. He might actually become my senior. They existed purely as formless souls. She specialized in soul and spiritual magic, right alongside complex formations. You and I know immortality is tricky. The research proved a god-tier soul lasts 5,000 years, but the physical body barely survives 600. The frail body just dragged the spirit down. Necromancers tried fixing this by separating them, but that risky process horribly corrupted both parts. The vessel withered, and the spirit became completely dark. That perfectly explains why known necromancers were so incredibly malicious. It wasn't their choice. A bodiless spirit simply amplifies its darkest, wildest impulses. Lilith's approach was totally different. Instead of the soul-carrying power like necromancers, she forced her pure spiritual energy to carry the soul instead. But only god-level spiritual power, almost entirely solid in substance, could serve as that vessel. Lacking test subjects, she bravely experimented on herself right near the end of her life. Shockingly, actually half worked. The magic sustained her spirit, but without a physical shell. That energy would slowly vanish into the world after 100 years. Max Gray mastered earth and life magic. His epic research focused on building a completely ageless artificial vessel, something they proudly dubbed the Eternal Body. He actually succeeded halfway too. The vessel successfully prevented energy from fading, but he just couldn't attach a spirit to it. So during Gray's final moments, they permanently sealed both their souls inside these eternal constructs together. Those 12 stunning Lilith statues were eternal bodies, perfect living constructs, just missing souls to drive them. I had to ask why they were all wildly different sizes if they functioned as replacement vessels. The smallest was practically palm-sized. Gray grinned proudly, wanting to experience his wife at every age. Naturally, I was left completely speechless. This madman was on another tier entirely, customizing his wife's physical form however he wanted. Age, looks, figure all perfectly adjustable by his daily mood. I had to respect the crazy dedication. Then I made the huge mistake of asking how that palm-sized one actually worked. Gray eagerly started explaining. Well, every man's first girlfriend is his own hands. So at that specific size, you could definitely. We'll stop right there. He didn't finish before Lilith's foot hilariously launched him across the room. Let's dive right into the chaos. Boom. Her second kick sent me flying, crashing right onto Gray. She glared, totally furious. Men are all creeps, she snapped. Not one good guy around. I am out of here. You handle this. Then, gone. The second Lilith vanished, I jumped up and dropped into a huge bow in front of Gray. Master, yelled out, from today on, you are my official teacher. Please teach me your wife's amazing sculpting techniques. I promise I will figure out how to link souls with those eternal bodies, bringing you both back. Gray slowly stood up and told me to just focus on training first. Watch closely. This is huge. Inheriting this requires legendary magic. Plus, I need earth and life magic added to my lightning skills. That means mastering 3 entire specializations. Super difficult and totally time-consuming, even for top mages. He and Lilith were elite, but only managed to each He promised I could return through any of the 12 eternal bodies once I finally hit legendary status. Then he yanked the curtains open. The window revealed an epic view from the statue's eyes, overlooking the huge central square. Jump out, come back when ready. I jumped. Trust me, you gotta see this.